Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody. We're going to do another update on the Alberta independence situation. Plus, I'm using a new, I'll just say this later because I don't think anyone's here yet.
A citizen-led petition calling for Alberta to seek independence from Canada is gaining momentum across the province.
Alberta needs.
That's for sure.
A citizen-led petition calling for Alberta to seek independence from Canada is gaining momentum across the province.
Alberta needs to be strong and free from the shackles of the Liberal government. We are tired. We don't matter in this relationship, and it has to stop. I think we've had enough.
The Stay Free Alberta campaign is collecting signatures for the chance to vote on the question. Do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada to become an independent state? That's the question that they're hoping for. The push comes as new polling suggests support for Alberta sovereignty is on the rise. Matt Solberg is a partner at New West Public Affairs. He spent more than a decade working in and around Alberta politics, most recently serving on the transition team for Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. And he's joining us live from Edmonton this morning. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
You and I spoke just before the election. We talked then about this growing frustration Alberta was feeling with Ottawa. Now it's not quite a year since the Liberals were voted back into government, and those grumblings has solidified into this position and petition. And what we also have pictures of is these long lines of people waiting to sign. They need 178,000 signatures by May 2nd to trigger a provincial referendum. Do you think they'll get there?
I do. I think at this point, the numbers are surprisingly strong. These events have been incredibly well attended. There was one here in Edmonton, just a few blocks from where I am now, on the weekend that had, pictures of what appeared to be thousands of people lined up. I know that there's another one in Calgary later on this week that has been moved from, one building at the Stampede grounds to a larger one, with organizers expecting upwards of 7,500 people. So at this point, I think it's likely that they get the number of signatures that they need.
Yeah, to that point, Matt, that event is also being now billed as not just a signing of the petition, but as a rally. So it'll be interesting to see sort of the sentiment, what comes out of that. Listen, the polling right now shows that 31% of Albertans support this idea of independence. 62 right now are saying they oppose it. Is this enough momentum to justify getting that referendum placed to the rest of the province? And where does the momentum...
I bet you those numbers change, though, once people see how much momentum there is behind the movement. I think that number is going to go up.
Go if there's not enough to get this question asked.
Well, look, I do think that at this point it's enough to get the question asked. As long as they get the number of signatures that are required. That's sort of been the rule of the game here. Since the legislation was amended a few months ago, and the risk being that as you pointed out, if the question is not asked, then I do think that the organizers, the people behind this movement, will find other ways to have their views known, to rabble-rouse, to ensure that that the public understands that there is a not insignificant portion of the population that want this question put to the people. And we've seen what this can do politically when this type of emotion is not channeled towards something more productive like a vote. We saw it during COVID. We've seen it during other sort of protest events in the last few years, and that has led to significant political change here in Alberta. So this is probably the most effective way of channeling that energy into something, and we'll see if this gets on the ballot later this year.
Okay, what would a referendum actually do?
Well, I mean, look, that's the big question. I think, part of this is looking at the Quebec example in the Clarity Act and understanding through that legislation what this would do. My understanding is that, if Alberta were to vote yes on independence, that it would trigger a series of prolonged negotiations with the rest of the country. It would also force Alberta to go and negotiate with the rest of the world on some pretty significant things like trade agreements. And so, for those who think this is going to just happen overnight and one day we'll wake up and be a free republic, I think they've been maybe snowed over a little bit on the important details here that would still need to be determined.
Yeah, I want to take this out of the provincial realm and move it national, because if it does become a referendum question, that's what happened. We saw there's, those of us who are around who remember what happened in Quebec, right? My Canada includes Quebec, and it became a national crisis. So when I'm looking at Prime Minister Mark Carney, who is right now overseas trying to present Canada as a stable front and as a good place to invest, it feels like there's a possible toehold or even a foothold now for division coming from the West, coming from Alberta. And then you've also got the leader of the opposition whose riding is now in rural Alberta. So broaden this out to the national stage. What does Mark Carney need to do to bring this to a close, really, to satisfy both the West and national interests?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. And I think it's important to remember that this sentiment has existed in Alberta for time immemorial. Essentially, since the founding of the province, there's been a large population that has been sort of unhappy with the terms of confederation. I would say, though, for the Prime Minister, the things that he is doing already are exactly what I think need to be done to start satisfying at least a portion of the public who are maybe on the fence on this issue. And that is, sitting down with the provincial leaders, with Premier Smith here in Alberta, and understanding the issues that are really driving some of the angst. The MOU on an energy pipeline to the West Coast that was signed in the fall is a really solid step here.
No, it's not. You know what's a solid step? Building it.
Now, of course, that's just a piece of paper, and I think a lot of people are wanting that to turn into meaningful progress towards building a pipeline. But those kinds of...
Not progress. People want an actual pipeline, and they want it like yesterday.
Actions, I think, have an incredible effect at dampening the sovereignty sort of movement, at least amongst those who are sort of sitting on the fence. They're in the middle ground. There are some hardcore separatists that will not be satisfied. In fact, we're upset that that Premier Smith was even having to meet with the Prime Minister to talk about these things. But for the middle of the road Albertan, they want to see action on,
Hello, Mountain Woman. How are you? Go Alberta. Show the rest of Canada how it is done. Just my personal opinion. Cool, cool. And yeah, if anyone wants to join the stream, I changed my stream setup so you can call in now. You just click. You don't need to go on camera at all. I'll just kind of change or I don't even know how it works. Your thing will just show up as like a little icon. But if you want to call into the stream, that's why I switch it to this, so I can get some more calls going, or just some more dialogue rather.
Getting products to market. And just the appearance and feeling of fundamental fairness here in this country.
Matt Solberg, good to have you back on the show. Thanks for joining us. Okay,
there's another thing I want to watch here. Maybe it's not here. Maybe I put the... Well, there's a few actually I want to watch. Yeah, this one here.
Of Albertans now support joining.
So this video has a lot of views. I've never even heard. Well, yeah, I don't know who this is. But this video has 143,000 views. So this went pretty viral, and it was only one day ago.
Of Albertans now support joining United States.
As you can see behind me, there are hundreds of people lined up to sign a petition. What's the question? Should Alberta separate from the rest of Canada?
You can see the line. Like, the lines are there everywhere. For every event, doesn't matter, small town, big city, medium city, the lines are there.
An abusive relationship for so long, really. I think most of us just want out.
Everybody's fed up. We're done with it. We've got to do something.
Alberta has moved past speculation and officially entered the independence phase, where this is no longer a debate, but a structured political process. What was dismissed for years as French talk is now backed by legal mechanisms, mass participation, and a clear path toward a referendum that Ottawa cannot ignore. And as that reality sets in, the conversation naturally widens. Because once independence is on the table, Alberta's future relationship with the United States, including that 51st state question, becomes a serious strategic consideration.
We have to work even harder because we're too busy paying all of our taxes out east and we get nothing back in return. And the people here have to work extremely hard to pay their rent, to pay their gas bills, to buy their food. And I think enough is enough.
Your industry is garbage, and if you try to complain, we're going to call you a bunch of hicks and rednecks. Would any Albertan seriously take that offer? And so, you know what? We got the chance for freedom, and I'm going to support freedom.
Feelings of frustration towards Ottawa, one of the reasons why people turning out to Wednesday's petition signing.
Alberta's independence push stopped being theoretical the moment it moved off screens and into the cold. Thousands of people lined up across Calgary, Red Deer, and other cities to sign a petition formally authorized under Elections Alberta, turning what critics mocked as talk into a measurable legal act. The petition requires 113,000 verified signatures to trigger a referendum, roughly 3% of Alberta's eligible voters.
I think because a lot of stuff still wouldn't actually change. We're tired of the equalization payment.
Within the first 2 weeks, organizers reported collecting over 40,000 signatures.
Wow. I heard numbers even higher than that too. There are people, I think, in the chat yesterday saying that the numbers were like upwards of 200,000 already. So they already kind of met their goal, but I don't know.
Placing them on track to hit the threshold months ahead of schedule. To put this into context, Alberta's 2023 provincial election saw 1.8 million votes cast. Petition drives typically struggle to reach 5% of that number. Yet this effort is trending towards 6 to 7%. Standing for hours in winter conditions is not symbolic behavior. It is literally proof of conviction. This is what real political gravity looks like when ordinary citizens decide an issue is important enough to pay a personal cost to advance it.
The federal government doesn't seem to be interested in working with Alberta, and it's unfortunate. But you know what? We have a choice to make, whether we continue.
Man, I think this is kind of a long time coming. The attitude that many in the government and many in the country have toward Alberta is just insane.
The status quo, or are we going to make a change?
I think I want to see change for my kids. I don't want them to carry all the debt that's going to happen by keeping in what we have right now.
So what we're seeing is not enthusiasm manufactured by activists, but organic participation from ordinary families, ordinary workers, and seniors who are engaging with the most powerful democratic tool available to them. Once a movement demonstrates scale, discipline, and legal grounding at the same time, it stops being something governments can dismiss, and it becomes something that they must prepare to respond to.
Since the petition was approved at the start of January, its provincial tour has drawn crowds, including these scenes in Red Deer, these in Millet, south of Edmonton, and in Calgary.
The pictures they're showing you is exactly like this. People lined up around the corner, down the road.
This push did not come from emotion or nostalgia. It came from pressure finally breaking the surface. Years of federal policy have left many Albertans feeling overtaxed, overregulated, and sidelined while their province's economic output is redistributed elsewhere with little reciprocal influence. Independence moved from a background idea to a serious option when people concluded that staying quiet carried more risk than challenging the structure itself.
I just wanted to get this done, and I think more Albertans need to come and get signed up for this too.
We need our freedom. We need to be able to make our own decisions.
We're pretty excited about the fact that we're getting long lineups around the halls to sign. That's always wonderful. We're not having to chase people around. They're coming to us.
Independence changes Alberta's position overnight because it stops being a province begging for permission and it becomes an entity making demands. Inside Canada, Alberta argues, waits, and absorbs decisions made elsewhere. Outside that structure, Alberta negotiates with assets that actually matter. Energy, geography, and trade routes don't disappear when independence happens. They suddenly become bargaining chips. And once you hold the chips, people stop lecturing you and start listening.
Honored to be here and see the huge turnout of everybody, and it makes us all proud to be Albertan.
The wait here to sign this petition is more than an hour long, and this is just one of 3 signing events being held across Alberta on this particular night. Organizers have to collect just under 178,000 signatures. The turnout here fueling optimism that could be done.
This is why this conversation does not stay confined to Ottawa for long and inevitably reaches the United States. When Alberta can act on its own interests, relationships stop being filtered through federal politics and start being driven by reality. This is not about being taken over or folded into someone else's system. It's about choosing partners from a position of strength. Independence turns Alberta from a problem to be managed into a player that has to be dealt with.
There sure is. And it's probably something called equalization payments, which you don't have in the United States. But in Canada, equalization payments mean that the richer province essentially pay the bills for the so-called poor provinces. Is Alberta with its natural resources, its oil industry. So Alberta is spending billions of dollars of its treasury to support people in Quebec, in Ontario.
The 51st state discussion emerges because independence expands Alberta's strategic options, not because a decision has already been made. When a jurisdiction demonstrates the capacity to stand on its own,
What do you think in the chat? Do you think this will be, if it passes, independent country or 51st state?
External relationship is reassessed on new terms. The presence of credible alternatives changes how other governments calculate risk, cooperation, and concessions. In practical terms, independence shifts Alberta from a fixed position to a flexible one, and flexibility creates leverage.
Whose neighbor is the United States of America, the largest economy in the world with the most powerful military, who's culturally aligned to us. We speak the same language. We like sports. We largely follow the same religions. We have the same culture and other things that connect us.
This is why the conversation naturally includes the United States without committing Alberta to any predetermined outcome. External alignment becomes a strategic variable rather than a taboo subject. That alone alters negotiations with Ottawa, investors, and internal partners.
Okay, I changed the name of the stream to a call-in show. So if anyone wants to call in, that would be great. Again, the link is in the chat. Also in the description of the video. Hello from Montana, 2A all day, mega. Hello. Welcome in. Thank you for chatting. Shall not be infringe. I thought I almost said Edmonton. Should not be infringed, Montana. Yeah, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Independent or 51, anything is better than the Libs agenda. Yeah, I agree.
Because it signals that Alberta's future is no longer constrained to a single political framework. Independence introduces choice, and choice reshapes power long before any final decisions are made.
Trump to explore the benefits of either Alberta becoming an independent sovereign nation with economic union to the United States, becoming a U.S. territory.
If Alberta joined the United States, it would immediately gain access to $27 trillion economy without trade barriers, full representation in Congress with roughly 6 to 8 seats based on population, and integration into U.S. defense infrastructure worth $877 billion annually.
Alberta contributes roughly $4.2 billion annually to federal transfer payments while receiving literally $0 back. And as I understand it, Alberta hasn't received their own share of equalization payments since the 1960s. Meanwhile, Quebec receives literally billions despite having lower tax rates than Alberta.
Meanwhile, Canada would face immediate economic disruption, losing 17% of its GDP, seeing the Canadian dollar potentially drop 15 to 20% according to economic models, and watching its credit rating downgrade as a debt-to-GDP ratio spike without Alberta's tax base. Eastern provinces would face equalization restructuring, forcing either sharp spending cuts or tax increases to fill the $16 billion annual gap that Alberta currently provides.
Stay Free Alberta wants to collect more than the 177,000 signatures it needs. He says the goal is getting higher based on the support they're hearing.
Our goal is to make this too big to ignore. So you know.
I mean, they're on track to do that for sure. Too big to ignore. It's already quite big.
But based on what's happening right now, that's a definite possibility.
People here say the message resonates with them because of the relationship they say Alberta has with the rest of Canada.
At the core of this movement is a simple calculation that more Albertans are now making openly. Staying inside the current system is getting more expensive than challenging it. Alberta generates outsized economic value through energy, agriculture, and industry. Yet decisions...
What do you think is going to be the slur to try to shame people out of voting for this? What do you think the mainstream media is going to say? You think they're just going to go to the well of racist, sexist, anti-immigrant? You think they're going to say stuff like that, or what do you think?
About how that value is used are increasingly made elsewhere. Federal transfer structures, regulatory costs, and policy constraints mean Albertans fund a system.
Yeah, any idea how many signed yet? In the video, the guy said 40,000. He's been reported, but I did a stream yesterday, and a lot of people in the chat were saying that they've heard numbers much higher than that. It's almost, I would say it's like at this point inevitable they're going to reach the goal of 177K because they have 4 months to hit that too. They basically just started, and there's speculation at least that they've already hit that goal. So I've also heard that the plan is to not even release any numbers, just kind of wait it out, and then at the end, maybe they'll be like, oh, we're at 1 million. Because if they say already, oh, we're already at the goal, people might be like, they're at the goal. I don't need to go show up. So I think that's kind of what is happening right now. All of the above and traders. From Arizona, that's my opinion means zip. No, who cares? You can comment. Go sovereign. But no, the U.S. will take you if things start to go sideways. I mean, I think most people sign this petition want to be an independent country, I think. But I'm sure some of them want to be 51st state. Like, no movement ever has full unity. So I don't know. I bet you there's a lot of people in Alberta that would take that deal just to be the 51st state. Of course, there's a lot of people that won't too. Like a lot of people obviously want to remain part of Canada. Just that we will see what happens. Like the data I've seen lately, it's like I think there's a poll we just went over. There's like a poll, 31% support this independence, but I think those numbers will start to go up as more and more Albertans see all the momentum. It almost gives you like social cover, you know, to say you're in favor of this. When you see so many other people also willing to show their support, there's less of a kind of stigma around it. Getting supper on Eric, but I'm listening. In fact, the whole house is listening. Oh, amazing. Thank you very much. Very cool. Carney aligned with China doesn't promote U.S. security. That's true. That's a good point. My family and friends all sing through. I think you mean sign probably. Cool. Uncle Chico, thank you for watching. Thanks for chatting. Matt, Alberta couldn't survive as an independent nation, but they would thrive as the 51st state. Interesting point.
That does not reliably return.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably lots of people disagree with that, but the thing is, if Alberta did become its own country, I mean, I think I looked that up. I think they'd be the 30th to 35th roughly biggest country in terms of GDP. But I mean, that is a pretty small country.
Proportional influence or outcomes. Over time, that imbalance stops feeling like cooperation and starts feeling structural.
They won't give us our pipelines. They don't support oil. They've never been on our side since the beginning.
No representation. We have no representation in Western Canada.
This is where independence stops sounding abstract and starts sounding practical. When people look at rising costs, pressured services, blocked projects, and shrinking local control, the question becomes less emotional and more transactional. Independence is no longer framed as walking away. It is framed as keeping more of what is produced at home and deciding.
Yeah, if anyone wants to call into the show, there's a link. That's the reason I switched to this kind of format of streaming, so people could call in. And yeah, like, I'm not going to debate you or anything. If you call in, I don't care what your point of view is. I'll be nice and stuff. I won't just start grilling you. But feel free, because I'd like someone eventually to. I just started this today, so I just started a few hours ago. This format. I'd like someone to hopefully call in at some point so I can kind of test out what it looks like, what it sounds like, stuff like that. But obviously, no pressure. As an Albertan, I can tell you this movement is massive and will surprise a lot of people. I think you're right. I'm looking forward to me too. I love that. That's a good point. I'm looking forward to President Trump's speech in Davos. So am I. Is it on Thursday? When does Trump speak Davos? I'm just looking this up here. I'll play this video.
Locally, how it's spent. That shift from symbolic grievances to economic self-interest is what gives this movement staying power and explains why it's
Trump speaks tomorrow.
Accelerating rather than fading.
If we separate, more jobs will open up because the government likes to hold that stuff out.
Seems like we're getting robbed by the East so much that we got to stand up.
The federal relationship fractured because outcomes consistently moved in one direction regardless of Alberta's objections. Energy policy.
So my friends and family signed the petition. I'm so happy seeing so many Albertans finally moving forward for a better future for all Albertans. Very cool, Uncle Chico. Thank you for chatting.
Is the clearest example. Alberta holds roughly 170 billion barrels of proven oil reserves, the third largest in the world. Major export infrastructure, though, remains constrained after more than a decade of federal reviews, court challenges, and policy reversals.
Since we last asked back in 2023 is a significant rise across the board. Support for independence is up 5 points in Edmonton, it's up 5 points in Calgary, and it's up 11 points in the rest of Alberta.
Alberta's energy sector generated $68 billion in GDP in 2023, accounting for 28% of the province's total economy. The province produced 3.7 million barrels per day that year, with 97% of crude exports flowing to the U.S. Yet, between 2007 and 2022, Alberta contributed $244 billion more in federal taxes than it received in federal spending, an average net outflow of $16 billion annually. For comparison, that's equivalent to $3,800 per Albertan.
This is a good video. This guy's doing a good job here. David Fraser.
Per year, subsidizing services elsewhere. The Government of Canada purchased the Trans Mountain Pipeline for $4.5 billion in 2018, and its total projected cost has since risen beyond $30 billion, underscoring how political interference inflates risk rather than resolving it. For many Albertans, this became evidence that Ottawa
Nice. We got Paul S. Okay, cool. Hold on. Just be a little patient here with me, Paul. This is my first time I've ever done this. But shout out to you. Let me see here. Okay, there's a private chat. Let's see. Okay, I think if I just click this button, then you're going to be live. I think. We'll see what happens here, Paul. Do you want your camera on? You cool with that?
Yeah, I don't care.
Cool. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm not Canadian, by the way. I was searching YouTube and I happened to come across your stream and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so then I popped in and you said you needed some help. So I was like, wow, I can just do that real quick. So
thank you, bro. Thank you. Yeah. Does this, thank you so much. Does it sound good to everybody in the chat? Is this all working? It's working on my end, but is this working for everybody on the chat? Shout out to Paul too, by the way. Shout out Paul. But I think it's pretty good. Are you from America?
I am. I'm actually from North Dakota, so I'm just a little bit south and east of you. So.
Yeah, we're close. I'm from Saskatchewan, so.
Okay, cool.
We're very close. That's cool. Have you been following this Alberta news?
Yeah, a little bit. I've seen some videos on YouTube, and they're holding some referendums, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah, that's great.
Very cool. Very cool. Are you again, I'll ask you this. You don't have to answer any of this stuff, but are you politically like left wing or right wing?
I would say I'm kind of moderate, maybe lean a little bit more right.
More right, yeah. Like, do you like Trump?
I guess I voted for him. So
okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I don't mean to put you on blast. I like Trump.
Yeah, and
I'm excited for Trump's speech tomorrow in Davos.
Yes, that'll be interesting for sure.
That'll be good. Did you see our guy Carney's speech today?
I did not.
He was pretty negative, I would say, toward Trump.
A lot of people are. I get it. Like, he's a very abrasive person. He's got a very abrasive personality. And what I think a lot of people don't understand is that, you know, he's kind of, I'm going to use the term meme-board. You know, he's kind of a, you know, he likes to play jokes and things like that. And his negotiating skills are basically, you know, I'm going to ask for the most I can possibly get first, and then we work back from there. So it's like everything he says, you got to take with a grain of salt, in my opinion, anyway. He's playing president, you know. I mean, that's really what he is. So.
Yeah, I know he obviously has a very aggressive negotiating style that obviously like disrupts the apple cart. I personally have never thought like the 51st date thing is serious at all, but our Canadian media gets into a hissy fit about it all the time. So I wonder if that's like Trump's point of view. I heard the take yesterday that maybe it's posturing to try to get Alberta, but even that, to be honest, I think is far-fetched. Like, I think there's a legitimate chance I think Alberta will become an independent country. I don't know that for sure. I mean, I definitely think this petition will go through, but then, man, I don't know. Like,
it'll be really interesting to see what happens.
I don't buy that as true.
Can Alberta support itself by itself? I don't know. You know,
I mean, Alberta would have to immediately work out deals with like the former Canada and. America.
I lost you.
If it did that, you can you hear me?
Yep. Now you're back. Everything froze for just a second.
Nice.
Hey man, it was nice meeting you. I just wanted to help you test this out, so I'm gonna head out there.
Thank you.
Hope the stream goes well. I'll keep watching.
Thanks so much, Paul. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Shout out Paul. That was great. Paul is the GOAT.
Economy without bearing the consequences of delay or cost overruns.
We've already got over 2,000 canvassers, so we're gunning for a lot more. So I think that's going to be super. I think this is a true grassroots movement.
This erosion of trust matters more than ideology. When a province supplies a disproportionate share of national export revenue while absorbing regulatory uncertainty and fiscal redistribution, cooperation starts to look one-sided. Equalization formulas, regulatory layering, and federal control over interprovincial infrastructure have all combined into this perception that Alberta is structurally constrained inside the Federation. Independence gains traction in that environment because it promises alignment between the decision makers and those who actually pay the costs of the decisions.
We're confident that we're going to achieve our goal. We're going to shatter our goal of 177,000 signatures, and we're trying to do everything we can to get well over 1 million signatures before the 120 days is up. So,
opposition to independence relies heavily on fear scenarios, yet most collapse when examined operationally. Landlocked doesn't mean economically trapped. Alberta already conducts the majority of its trade by value with the U.S., and modern trade depends on negotiated access, not territorial continuity. Globally,
I have not heard of this, Jason. The Yukon is starting to work on separation behind Saskatchewan. Rumblings are wow. Could you imagine if like Canada just became 13 different countries? Every province just went their own way.
Landlocked countries such as Switzerland and Austria maintain high standards of living through transit agreements, tariff structures, and market access frameworks. Geography creates constraints, but constraints are managed through contracts, not panic.
They want to leave Canada entirely. This isn't boomers clinging to nostalgia. This is young people who've watched federal climate policies destroy energy jobs, equalization payments, those are basically subsidies to the other provinces,
Claims of economic retaliation also ignore mutual dependence. British Columbia relies on east-west rail and energy supply chains that pass through Alberta.
Man, this guy, this YouTube channel here is cooking. This company has I feel like there's going to be a bunch of YouTube channels in Canada about to kind of rise up. I think it's just been a few people for quite some time. Like, I'm not calling anybody out because I like these guys, but Sunshine Baby, even the Pleb, there's been kind of a few that have been kind of holding court. But I've been seeing quite a few good Canadian YouTube videos lately from smaller creators, like 19K. That's not tiny, but well, in the grand scheme of YouTube, it's not very big. It's obviously bigger than my current channel that I'm on, but you know what I mean? I'm very impressed with this David Fraser's YouTube video here.
While central Canada depends on the western corridors to reach Pacific markets. Disruption would impose immediate costs on all parties, incentivizing negotiation rather than escalation. Independence does not remove interdependence, it formalizes it. The practical question is not whether trade continues, but on what terms and under whose authority.
But what really should terrify Canada's liberal political elite, the highest support for secession is actually among Alberta's youngest voters.
It's incredible. Even the stats Canada has on conservative voters. I can't really switch tabs. I got this new, that's like the one drawback of my new streaming setup is if I switch tabs, it doesn't come with me, but that's okay. I'm just still kind of playing around with this, but like the conservative, maybe I'll try to get this on stream still. The conservatives in Canada who are young support, like the young people, and then it's the older people in Canada support liberal. That is very backwards to what it typically is in a country. That is very interesting. And the swing too, like there used to be, I think maybe 11 years ago, the overwhelming majority of young people were liberal, and now it's flipped to conservative. So that is like just unbelievable development. I don't even know if that's good. That's probably actually a bad sign that young people are just desperate for change, I guess. But I mean, you could probably view that also as good, as like young people want change. So hopefully they continue to be conservative, I guess, moving into their lives.
Among Albertans aged 18 to 34, support for independence hit 40%. Let that sink in.
What makes this phase distinct is participation breadth and demographic.
See, that's 40%. But again, my like thesis right now on this movement is I think as people see a lot of Albertans openly being pro-independence, it will motivate the kind of on the fence voter to at least take a look at it and consider the pros and cons, almost like social proof. Like I think that probably happened in Brexit. That definitely happened in 2016 with Trump, how at first he was kind of like a sideshow to many, at least like everyone's like, what the heck is this guy doing? And then as he kept moving through the campaign, people started to take what he was saying very seriously and kind of form this new political movement. Maybe that'll something similar will happen with this. I mean, not everything is obviously a direct comparison to something else, but
Canada's liberal political elite, the highest support for secession is actually among Alberta's
31 live viewers. Nice. That's probably my record. Shout out to you guys. That's very low, but still a new channel. So that's cool.
Youngest voters. Among Albertans aged 18 to 34, support for independence hit 40%. Let that sink in.
What makes this phase distinct is participation breadth and demographic spread. Polling consistently shows independence, the strongest support is among the younger Albertans, with some surveys placing support nearly 40% among those aged 18 to 34, a cohort that historically anchors long-term political shifts. A 2023 Angus Reid survey found 33% of all Albertans would vote to leave Canada today, up from 20.
Yeah, again, I expect that number. I would guess that number is going to rise. Now, will it get to 50%? I'm not saying it definitely will. Like, I don't even think that's a healthy attitude for the movement to say, oh, it's definitely going to work. I don't know what the cap will be. Obviously, for the people that want to leave, you'd want to be above 50. I'm not saying it will be that, though. We'll see. But there will be a referendum. That would be my definite guess. I definitely think this movement is way too big to ignore now. Alberta, Sask, Yukon, maybe NYT could reform the territory of Buffalo and become one large country. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Just an Arctic country. That'd be sweet.
5% in 2019. Among decided voters, that figure climbs to 38%. Critically, support jumps to 52% when respondents are asked if they support independence, if that meant keeping equalization payments within the province. Independence referendums also mobilize voters who typically sit out elections, which is why turnout.
Yeah, I hear you. That's Paul, I think. I hear you. Where would you like to move? I was just traveling last year in Bali in Thailand. That's a long way away, obviously, but I was there for quite a while. That's obviously like moving there is different than like an extended vacation, I guess. But I know some people are looking at Mexico.
In comparable votes has exceeded 85 to 90% in cases like Quebec in 1995 and Scotland in 2014. High turnout changes electoral math, and it reduces the reliability of traditional polling assumptions.
If this succeeds, it could go to a referendum or be discussed in the Legislative Assembly. At minimum, it will definitely send a message to the residents of Alberta and the government. And if it doesn't,
maybe I'll leave Canada. I'm not like...
Oh, you're considering it?
Considering it, yeah.
Once a population commits at this scale, movements rarely revert.
But they would be indebted, the federal government for tons of... So Matt, 243, you're kind of looking at it from, it'd be difficult. They'd be indebted, the Canadian federal government, tons of infrastructure. Yeah, there would definitely be a process for sure. I don't think that the fact that it would be kind of messy should be a reason to stay or go, but there's no question that there would be a lot to sort out. I know that the independence movement has been talking about some of that stuff. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on what they say or what their pitch is, but from what I saw, some of the people working at these events in Alberta are addressing some of those concerns. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on that, but I've seen that, because that is probably one of the first questions that comes up of, okay, great, let's separate, but now what? So
to dormancy. Petition thresholds, signature counts, and fixed timelines convert sentiment into sequence. Even without predicting an outcome, the process itself kind of forces institutional engagement and sustained public focus. This is why the moment is being treated as decisive, not because the result is guaranteed, but because the conditions that previously suppressed the question no longer exist. If Alberta were to align with the United States, what happens to Canada when it loses its largest energy engine, its major export house, and one of the few provinces that consistently pays more into the system that takes it out? Well, let me know what you think.
Oh, oops. Maybe I'll go to that video actually from this guy, because there's definitely one more video I want to watch, but it's only about 3 minutes long. And it's about, this guy dropped another video today. Wow. Amazing. This guy, shout out to this guy. This guy is cooking. What's his biggest video? 451. Nice. There's one video though, I'll react to it later, that I think it's 3 minutes, but the title was, are the Alberta separatists fueling, or are they helping Trump? So, and it was from like a mainstream media channel. Maybe that's going to be the angle. Oh, you separatists, you're Trump, you're Trumpers. Maybe that'll be the attempt at kind of like a shaming tactic not to vote for this. We will see. Alberta's been treated like I could probably say it, but this dude, sound like I'm having a stroke, by the federal den of thieves in Ottawa, stealing your family's future. WTF, Alberta wants freedom. GLY. I don't actually, is that good luck? I don't even know that one. Good luck, y'all. God loves you. I don't know what GLY is. I don't think the U.S. I don't think I'd leave the U.S. Probably Florida or Indiana. Who knows? It's really up to the wife. Yeah. What federal infrastructure? The only federal is military bases. We would not bother with Canada for military. We would make a deal with America. We don't owe Canada anything. I'll start this video here. This is a new one from the same guy. Again, feel free if you're in the chat, if you didn't hear me say this before, if people want to call in. Paul already helped us out, so it works pretty good. And then if you call in, you don't have to put your camera on. You can just call in, have your mic on, turn your camera off, kind of be on the side here with me, and then you can give your take if you want about Alberta independence. You don't even need to talk about that. I mean, the conversation might go to that, but if you have a take on this, by the way, I don't care even if your take is anti, like if you want whatever you want to have your take as, if you want to call into the show and share your point of view, that'd be nice.
Still of a central Alberta night in January couldn't keep hundreds from lining up in Red Deer for a chance to support an independent Alberta.
The wait here to sign this petition is more than an hour long, and this is just one of 3 signing events being held across Alberta on this particular night.
A group of Albertans wanting to separate from Canada is confident it will collect enough signatures for an official referendum question in the fall.
I just watched thousands of Albertans stand in line for over 3 hours last night in Red Deer to sign the independence petition.
This video is a new one. I think the one we played before was about a day old, and then this one is 4 hours ago. This guy's crushing it, though. David Fraser.
And this is the longest queue we've ever seen in the province's history.
Hundreds of people waiting out in the cold to sign a petition that is seeking a referendum on Alberta separating from Canada.
Stay Free Alberta's proposed question is, do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada to become an independent state? The group's lawyer feels their efforts to collect the necessary 177,000 signatures will send a strong signal to Ottawa.
While Ottawa sits there pretending that our movement will fizzle out after a few weeks, Stay Free Alberta is collecting signatures at a pace that has completely blown past every single prediction.
ADE, what do you mean by that? If you app website, what website are you talking about? Oh, the APP, Alberta Prosperity Project. Yeah.
Prediction anyone made.
I thought you meant app, like a phone app.
At the end of the line that snaked around the block, a chance to sign a petition calling for a referendum that would ask, do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada to become an independent state?
Let me be very clear with you about what I'm seeing unfold across the province right now. We are going to witness an actual independence referendum in Alberta before this year ends. I'm not talking about some distant possibility that might happen if the stars perfectly align.
And so, you know what? We got the chance for freedom, and I'm going to support freedom.
I'm talking about us walking into voting booths and making a decision about whether we stay in this federation or chart our own path forward. The Alberta Prosperity.
This is pretty interesting. This is very, this is probably the first time in my life in Canada that I've seen sort of a right-wing movement gain momentum like this. The trucker convoy, of course, but that wasn't really political. I mean, a little bit, but it was more just like an anti-mandate, anti-lockdown thing. So I guess you could argue that's political. I think it was kind of more just about freedom and against maybe one policy. But this is a real political movement that kind of encompasses everything. Yeah, I can't think of something like this. This seems a lot different than just a traditional like CPC leadership campaign, like the Scheer campaign, the O'Toole campaign, even the Poilievre campaign. I thought Poilievre, he had this energy, I think, for like the beginning of it. And then obviously things drastically changed when Carney replaced Trudeau and Trump started saying Canada was going to be the 51st state. There was a moment Poilievre kind of had this lightning in a bottle. But again, maybe I'm being a little bit premature in saying this. I'm kind of assuming things are going to continue to build, but so maybe they won't, but I think they probably will.
Project worked for years to get Elections Alberta to approve this petition. And on January 3rd, 2026, we officially began the 120-day signature collection period that runs until May 2nd.
Organizers have to collect just under 178,000 signatures.
Yeah, how many? I asked this question last time. How many do you think they're at right now? If you had to guess, the goal is 178K. I've heard a lot of guesses. How many do you think they already have?
The turnout.
How many do you think they will have by the end?
Here, fueling optimism that could be done.
Here's what makes this absolutely historic. We need to collect approximately 177,000 valid signatures, which represents 10% of the eligible voters from our last provincial election. But the leadership at Stay Free Alberta isn't aiming for the minimum.
The problem in Alberta that we have is all the oils in Alberta and all the dipsticks are out east.
She believes separating would mean...
That has a good line. I've heard that one before. This guy just casually roasting the East.
The problem in Alberta that we have is all the oils in Alberta and all the dipsticks are out east.
She believes separating would mean better economic conditions in Alberta.
They're going for overwhelming numbers that will force Ottawa to take us seriously. We already had 250,000 Albertans register their intent to support this cause before signature collection even officially started. And the strategy now is asking each of those people to bring 2, 3, or 4 more supporters from their networks.
It's been an abusive relationship for so long, really. I think most of us just want out.
I'm hoping that we do have our independence. If we don't get that, at least, the feds will take notice and we get the same concessions that Quebec has. I mean, that could be the least that we get out of this.
What happened in Red Deer last night was absolutely unprecedented in the province. We saw footage of lines wrapped around the entire city blocks with people patiently waiting in the cold just to exercise their democratic right to sign the petition. Remember that organizers estimated they collected 5,000 signatures just last Saturday alone in the same city. Everyone kept saying that, oh, this is just the opening weekend excitement and the momentum will die down once reality sets in. Well, I'm here to tell you that reality has set in and our lines are getting longer, not shorter.
If we exceed 1 million signatures, that's going to be one of the strongest messages ever sent to a provincial government anywhere in Canada.
Everybody's fed up. We're done with it. We got to do something.
This entire movement reminds me so much of what I felt during the Freedom Convoy. When those trucks started rolling across Canada, and we saw people lining up at every overpass to cheer them on, something kind of shifted in the hearts. We felt like maybe our country wasn't completely broken yet. Like maybe there was still hope for us to take back control of our lives. That's exactly what I see in these petition lines stretching across Alberta.
Yeah, it does feel similar energy-wise that way. But I think this one is obviously way bigger because it could lead to something much more permanent, obviously. But the trucker convoy was certainly amazing. But then it got obviously shut down. So stupid. Yeah. Trudeau actually was maybe I'll bring that up for fun because it kind of links to this. Trudeau was grilled about that today. I just saw a little clip. There's like maybe an 8-minute video. I'll probably play that for fun.
We're not signing up to leave because we hate Canada. We love this country desperately. Our federal government has made it crystal clear through every single policy decision that they don't want.
Yeah, that quote is unreal. I wish I thought of that. All the dipsticks. My wife showed me a post. Not what 192 in one day. Jeez. I don't know about in one day. I mean, but maybe. I don't know. There was a lot. I've heard that is kind of the number. I've heard the rumor total so far. I even would kind of think that's a little high. Like, who knows? I bet you it's approaching 100K though, if it's not already over it. Like there's been a whole bunch of these already, and they're all basically big. Ban poutine or jail. Ban poutine. Like I don't really get it, to be honest, but I like poutine. How close are you to 1 million signatures? I don't know. There's no way they're at. There's no way it's million yet. That's probably the goal. Like I've heard one of the organizers, I think it was Mitch, I think, saying we would like to get over 1 million signatures. It might have been the other, one of the other people, one of the kind of faces behind this movement. So yeah, Baton Rouge, Louisiana gas, $2.07 USD gallon. Shout out to Baton Rouge. I want to go to Louisiana one day for sure. They will have it by month's end.
Us or need us.
And are going for over 1 million signatures. You're probably right. You're probably right. I would agree with that.
Contributing to this nation anymore.
Feelings of frustration towards Ottawa.
Awesome. I say good luck from NY. Nice. Thank you for watching. Thanks for chatting, YAH.
One of the reasons why people turning out to Wednesday's petition signing.
I've been watching the political responses from Ottawa, and I don't see anyone trying to bring us back into the fold or even address what we're asking for. Instead, they're calling us every terrible name you can think of. When Quebec held their referendum back in the 1990s, we watched politicians literally cry on television, begging them to stay in Canada. But with us, we're getting called traitors and separatists and accused of not caring about the country. I predicted this exact response from the beginning. As soon as we started collecting the signatures, it went right back to the pandemic mentality where people were divided and attacked for exercising their basic rights.
Yeah, shout out 54 live viewers. This is my record for sure. Shout out to everybody watching. If you could like or definitely subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers because that's the magic number on YouTube where you can turn on monetization. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching and chatting or whatever. This stream so far has been a lot of fun.
We've already got over 2,000 canvassers, so we're gunning for a lot more. So I think that's going to be super. I think this is a true grassroots movement.
The official petition process through Elections Alberta is incredibly strict, and that's actually a good thing because it means every signature we collect is legitimate and verifiable. Only registered canvassers may collect signatures on the petition, and these canvassers must witness each signature, view each person's identification to prove they're eligible to sign, and then sign each petition signature sheet themselves. This isn't some casual online petition where you can just click a button and move on. These are wet signatures collected in person with proper identification verification, which means when we hit our target numbers, nobody can claim the results aren't legitimate.
I am actually honored to be here and see the huge turnout of everybody, and it makes us all proud to be Albertan.
In that Red Deer footage from last night, I picked up comments where people said that they'd been standing there since 5 o'clock in the evening. The video was posted just after 8 at night. These are our neighbors standing outside for 3 full hours in winter weather just to add their name to the petition that could change the future of our province forever. The line stretched past snowbanks, wrapped around corners, and continued into the building where it snaked through multiple hallways before people were finally reaching the signing area.
Your industry is garbage, and if you try to complain, we're going to call you a bunch of hicks and rednecks. Would any Albertans...
He's so correct. The attitude many people have toward Alberta is incredible.
seriously take that offer?
And it's so nuts how in the past Quebec has been the province that wants to leave when Alberta has way more of the case to actually do so.
I always believed that our province had this kind of passion with the people, but I knew that this
Yeah,
wasn't.
Forever Canada got something like 430,000. So pretty, like a lot of people, but this looks like it's going to crush it for sure. Yeah. If they got 430, you got to think this one's going to get at least 3 times the number. Cause I didn't even hear that much about the Forever Canada thing.
Some tiny fringe group making noise on social media. And now watching these turnouts with my own eyes, it made me more proud of Alberta than I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah, Mountain Woman, you're right. The members, I don't even know if I'll do the member thing, maybe, but I know at that point I can think you can do super chats and stuff, 3,000 watch hours. But if you get 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours, then you get you can put ads like that. That's basically it. And that's way better. Like that's a huge advantage to YouTube. to have the ability to do that. You like, I think it's called AdSense, but because I have another YouTube channel where that I'm monetized on. So I've done this before, but the I've never done the members thing. Like I'll just for fun. I'll come back to that video though. This is my actual channel that gets real views. Way more than my current one. Yeah, 52K, so not bad. But I'm not even promoting it because if you're, well, I guess I kind of am, but that wasn't the point of that.
Over 400 for their own family. This is what it looks like when people decide that they're done letting the government overreach, control where they go, how they work, how they spend their money, and how much they're allowed to keep for their own families.
The federal government doesn't seem to be interested in working with Alberta, and it's unfortunate. But you know what? We have a choice to make, whether we continue the status quo or we can make a change.
The head of Stay Free Alberta, Mitch Sylvester, wouldn't reveal exactly how many signatures the group has gathered so far, but said that
I think that's strategic though. And I actually think that's the correct strategy. If you reveal that you're already at the goal, that's going to dampen the movement. A lot of what this movement is about is just being so big that you don't want to deny it. Oh, you're backstage. Cool. It did work. It did. Do you want your, yeah, okay. I'll add you in here. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Doing? Is that you? YAH?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I don't want to say out loud. It's Your Arse Hurts News Network.
Oh,
except the word arse isn't actually the one used.
Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah. Thanks for coming in. How are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing exceptionally well. I can't really complain about life. It's been good to me.
Nice.
I've been good to it. But I've been watching somewhat what's happening up there in Alberta, and I don't know. I just feel I'm in New York, which is mostly chaos. But
yeah,
I'm pretty proud to see people stand up for themselves like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's quite amazing. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I lived in Alberta. I technically still live, I guess, in Alberta. Like I still have my Alberta license and stuff, but I just moved back. My home province is Saskatchewan, so I'm right beside. But
yeah, it's funny too. I think a lot of this came to the forefront when Trump started to change the trade agreements that have been in place since 1947. I don't know if you or your listeners realize that we've allowed nations to tariff us since World War II ended. Right. Initially, so that we could help rebuild the European nations that were rubble, but they never went away. And so now that he's doing what he's doing, it's causing a lot of anger, and it just almost seems it seems tragic. I mean, I think what you're seeing in Alberta is how we feel as Americans towards the trade deals that were being done for the last 80 years.
That's a good point.
So I could relate to the people up in Alberta that they're being taken advantage of. Their wealth is being stolen, and the programs that they're paying for have really nothing to do with the local people.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So
I hear you. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. So are you in New York City?
No, thank God.
Thank God. Yeah.
I used to New York State. I've got a history of going to Toronto. I live on near one of the Great Lakes.
Okay.
And so I would go to Toronto every Friday, and I never had a bad experience in Canada ever.
Right. Yeah. I lived in Toronto too. During the pandemic, which kind of sucks. So my view of Toronto is sort of pandemic. Like when I was there, a lot of things were closed and stuff. But the first few months when I was there, it was fun. Toronto has gotten very liberal as a city, I would say. Like you kind of feel. I was in also Seattle recently. Seattle to me felt very liberal. That's kind of how Toronto felt.
I don't think liberal is the correct fair term. I think it's more of a leftist. More of a social communist, and I don't know what to say. But when I went to Canada, I used to visit all the ports I used to get up to Lake Ontario and go across the lake. And I mean, Canadians would lend me their cars. I didn't even ask. I'd need something we're at a marina and we'd need some bread or something. And they'd be like, "Oh, mate, the car's over there." They'd throw me the keys. I'd be like, "What? Well, you're not going anywhere and leaving me your yacht, are you?" I'm like, "Okay, cool. I guess, yeah."
Yeah.
They jet ski with them. I just really had a good time in Canada. I used to stay in Toronto. There's a harbor with an airport on it. The airport's out in the harbor. It's cool.
Yeah, like what's that one called? I forget the name. Yeah, I lived right by it. I never took it though.
There was an island over there that
Porter,
you
I
bring
think.
you
Porter
bring your
Florida,
boats, and they had a ferry that would go back every 15 minutes to downtown Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto Island.
Yeah, that's it. And so you would be like on a campground, and the next thing you know, you're in downtown Toronto with nightclubs and comedy clubs and shopping centers. And then you'd get back on the ferry and you'd be back in the campground. It was the most awesome thing ever.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah. Toronto is a great city to visit. There's no question. Montreal too, to visit is a great time. Have you been there?
Never been.
Never been there. Yeah.
But I've been all around the any of the ports that were open on Lake Ontario, Port Delahousie. I can't remember the names.
Right.
But I would just tune the GPS to a port and I'd go, and every week we'd go to Toronto or a different port. And I did that for many years. And it was just very nice people, man.
Yeah. What's your take on maybe like the current U.S. foreign policy?
Well, I think if you I know our president can be a bit over the top, but when you look at what he's really doing, I don't know if people realize. For instance, I'll give you an example. Carney ran to China. Why is he running to China to make trade deals?
Yeah, you would hope that wouldn't be the case.
Europeans are doing the same thing. So our own allies that are part of NATO are turning their back on us. And so they should be saying, you're right about Greenland, and let's do something with Greenland jointly.
I hear you. I agree with that. Even our conservative leader in Canada, Poilievre, who sometimes I like him. Lately, I've really liked him, but he made a statement saying something like, he sounded like a left-wing guy. He was like kind of calling out Trump for sure. And it's tough. I agree with you. Like Canada, America, no matter what happens, will always be the most important country to Canada, and it will never even be close. There will never be a close second. So
never.
The stance that a lot of like kind of the quote unquote elite Canadians are taking right now toward America is pretty stupid, I think. Did you see Carney's speech today in Davos?
No, these poor politicians, a lot of these guys, they're just told what to say and it's written down and they go out and they talk it. Where, Trump doesn't have anything written down. And if he does, he usually ignores it. And he just says what he thinks. But overall, I think Vancouver and America's issues are similar, not identical, but very similar. And I honestly think that you guys have heavy crude. We have the refineries to refine your heavy crude.
Yeah.
I mean, we're set up to work with each other. Like Americans' oil exports, whether people realize it or not, is sweet crude. We don't really refine sweet crude. We refine the heavy crude.
Yeah.
So countries are, Alberta, Venezuela, and others surrounding, and our own pumping of oil. A lot of our oil is heavy crude. And we're set up to do that and work with you. And I just, why us asking for people to be 0-0 on tariffs is such an argument against everybody. It just doesn't. I mean, as an American citizen, I think, so you only want to do business with me if I pay you extra.
Right. Yeah, I know. I made that point. I'm like, a lot of my political views are just legitimately pretty pro-American because like I got like my other YouTube channel is pretty much, you could say it's like a pro-Trump YouTube channel. It's not like how I intended it, but that just legitimately is where a lot of my politics are. I do think America has carried the weight economically and militarily for a long time. And a lot of countries, a lot of countries have just gotten weird priorities and just taken advantage of that situation. I think it was only a matter of time before somebody became the president of America who like looked at this and said, what are we doing? Because there's some like Canada has some crazy high dairy tariffs, for example, on America. Like there are instances where we kind of treat America like we have the leverage when we don't.
But here's the question I want to get away from my country and Trump is what is it going to take for Alberta to secede? What is the goal? I mean, was there a threshold, a limit of voters, or how does that work?
Yeah, they're kind of talking about that in this video, but they're already probably going to definitely have the referendum. So it's 178,000 signatures. Once they hit that, it starts this legal process, but it sounds like when they hit that goal, they're supposed to have the referendum I know some people are saying that hopefully there's not like any legal loopholes or something like that. Someone tries to play some funny games behind the scenes. But after that, though, then it goes to a referendum as long as that all happens. And that's just 50%, as I understand it, just kind of like Brexit, where if 50% of the people that vote to leave, then the legal process starts, I guess, to make Alberta an independent country. So it's just 50-50.
So in a world where that happens, how does that affect the federal government in Canada? Do they no longer have power over taking your revenue?
I mean, those are all questions that will be like,
okay.
I guess that's just the messy stuff down the line. Like I know when Brexit happened, it took like, how long did Brexit take to actually go into effect? It took forever, right? But yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to claim to be like a total expert on this.
Okay. No, I just was, because I know your show is about this issue, and I didn't want to get too far astray with talking.
I don't care. No, my show is about just Canada, but yeah, this stream is about.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, because it would be amazing to see, and it would be nice to see that they get to manage their own money.
Exactly. Yeah, and
right?
a major sore spot in Canada is we have this socialist system for equalization payments. So Alberta pays into the federal government, and then Quebec, other provinces too, but Quebec's the major one with lots of population, is considered a have-not province. So Alberta ends up paying money to Quebec every year. It's been like hundreds of billions of dollars over the last, like, I think 50 years or something, that Alberta has paid into Quebec. And that's definitely a sore spot, because Quebec, on the same token, has a pretty crappy attitude towards like the oil and gas industry, and is all about like the net zero climate change crap. So it would be like, I guess, the have provinces in America, or have states, paying like for the have not states. Like I think there would be eventually some tension there, but that's been happening in Canada for a long time. And it's always, at least for like the last few decades, it's always Alberta pays, Quebec gets.
Someone in your chat room said Canada has fallen. I don't know how tuned in people are to global or geopolitics, and that what a lot of people mistake is, for instance, a lot of people have an issue against Israel, and they get really crazy about Israel. And what a lot of people don't know is the British Empire never went away. They surrendered territory, but they enslaved the world with economics. And one of the key reasons that Maduro was snatched from Venezuela was because trillions of drug money, trillions of cash cartel money was laundered through the British Empire, through London banks. That's one of the reasons he was snatched. Because if you could convert your illicit dealings into legitimate money that can then be used on the open market, right? That's what money laundering does. Mm-hmm. That was one of the massive problems we have with Venezuela, and also the islands down in the Caribbean, where the money passes through that are controlled by the European or the British banks. And I don't know how many people are really understand how the financial world since 1971 in Brentwood, how most of the things that you've seen that you think America is precipitating the issue or America is leading the charge, it really has never been. It's all been about the money and where the money goes and how the money is then laundered and dispersed. And most of the Britain's financial strength has come from illicit money. So you go to countries in Africa.
Do you support the Maduro, like what Trump did with Maduro?
What Trump did with Maduro was one step in the chain of breaking the chain of the British Empire's financial grasp around the globe.
Okay.
All of these places where he says he stopped 7 wars. What he really did to stop those wars, because those wars were promoted and they were financially rewarding to the arms dealers, right? The bad elements of the planet, was he just simply said to these countries, our markets are open to you. If you don't stop fighting, then they won't be open to you. And now your countries will collapse, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's actually going and putting America's ideas towards people. Don't fight, be our friends, do business with us. And that's helped stop 7 wars. But it's broken the chain that Britain and the Europeans have had on a lot of African nations that people don't realize. There's a country there that mines gold. They sell it for X amount and have to send it to France, who then refines it and sells it for the market price. And the X amount they're getting is a pittance versus the, several $1,000s per ounce price it's worth. They cut chains with France and kicked France out of their country. They're now building their own refineries, and they're gonna put their own gold on the market for their own self. So these are things that are happening around the globe that really don't get much attention. But your Alberta is another example of that. You guys are producers, and you've got the federal government on your neck, stealing your money.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Totally. Yeah, man. That was. Are you gonna? I'm gonna get back to the video.
I can step
dude,
back.
that was awesome, dude. I appreciate you doing that. That was great. Thanks for the conversation. I would if you come back to the stream in the future, jump up whenever you want. That was a great combo.
I'll subscribe. You'll see me again.
Cool. Thank you,
All right.
man.
Be good.
He's confident they'll get enough by the May deadline and that he's got a tough tally in his head showing that they're ahead of schedule based on the turnout that they've been getting so far. That tells me that the internal numbers are strong enough that they're not really worried about hitting that minimum threshold. They're focused on building such overwhelming support that the referendum becomes inevitable.
A dueling petition that seeks to have Alberta remain in Canada has already collected the necessary signatures, with over 400,000 people signing on.
Now, let me put something into perspective for you about just how much support that this movement has compared to the opposition. Last year, a counter-petition called Forever Canadian was organized by former Deputy Premier Thomas Lukaszuk to keep Alberta in Canada. That petition collected over 400,000 signatures. That's a significant number, and it shows that there are plenty of Albertans who want to stay in Confederation. But here's what matters about our petition. We're not just collecting signatures from anyone across Canada and anyone who wants to have an opinion about Alberta. We're collecting verified signatures from eligible Alberta voters with proper identification checks. The quality and legitimacy of our signatures matters way more than the raw quantity.
She and other supporters believe even if the Conservatives were to gain power federally, that wouldn't help.
We're watching our Prime Minister fly around the world, handing billions of our tax dollars to foreign countries while completely ignoring the struggles that we're facing at home. He keeps our immigration system wide open with people flooding in to claim asylum. And then we're giving them support to survive on our streets while housing costs spiral out of control, especially for Albertans who've been contributing here their entire lives. These petition lines represent us saying enough is enough, that this is the one place where our vote actually matters and we're taking back control.
We're confident that we're going to achieve our goal. We're going to shatter our goal of 177,000 signatures. And, we're, trying to do everything we can to get well over 1 million signatures before the 120 days is up. So that's our goal.
His response has basically been, who cares? He's become famous for that attitude. He doesn't care what happens to the province. He doesn't.
Have you seen, though, some liberals who are in favor of the gun buyback program now being like, no, never mind. We want to keep the guns because they think that we're about to go to a war? Have you seen any comments like that? The lefties of Canada?
Don't care what happens to any part of Canada that doesn't vote for him. Well, he's about to start caring very quickly, and we're serious about leaving. We're not abandoning Canada. Canada abandoned us first through years and years of hostile policies designed to cripple our economy and punish us for our energy sector.
How many signatures we're getting?
Organizers say events like this one have drawn.
It might be Ninja Raging Potatoes. Very well could be the Canadian version of MAGA. Some people call Maple MAGA. That's like supposedly a slur. Although even before this happened, I've been saying for a year, just on to whoever will listen, I guess, on my Twitter account, but Canadians should just embrace that. Some people do. I see some shirts, Maple MAGA. I even thought that Pierre Poilievre should have just been like, sure, whatever, I'm Maple MAGA. Who cares? I don't consider that an insult. Maple MAGA.
On between 1,700 and 4,000 people each night.
Calgary boxes. On the other side of the argument, Thomas Lukaszik's Forever Canadian petition already has 400,000 verified signatures. He believes Donald Trump and his allies are among those cheering on the Alberta separation movement. Trump has said he wants Canada to be the 51st state.
Now, let me tell you what else happened that proves this movement is spreading into every corner of the province. Nearly 1,800 people showed up at an Independence town hall in Eckville last night. I need you to understand that Eckville is an incredibly tiny rural community with a total population of probably like 1,100 residents. Yet somehow 1,800.
I agree with this, Nate. Off of vibe, it is off of vibes. And like the CPC out east has, for whatever reason, a lot of people just don't want to ever vote conservative. I think that's mostly, I don't even know. Like that attitude seems for younger people to be kind of getting shattered, but that hashtag on Twitter, never vote conservative, I see that a lot. There are, I think, a lot of people that this is for sure true because Trudeau was such a bad leader, yet the Liberal Party won again. That's so incredible. To me, that just shows that there's a huge part of Canada, maybe half or close to half, who just will never even consider the Conservative Party.
Albertans made the drive to pack that community center. And this was happening at the same exact time that those massive lines were forming 45 minutes away in Red Deer.
Thank you, ADE. I agree.
Organizers say roughly 1,700 people showed up to a second signing event in Eckville, about 50 kilometers from Red Deer.
From Edmonton to Okotoks and many places in between.
In many cases, YH, I for sure 100% agree.
Massive lineups to sign on for Alberta Independence.
We've got our fair share of wacky lefties in Canada. Obviously, there's less as a total number, but like those videos of the lefties melting down on in America are pretty funny. I've done quite a few videos of that on my other channel, but Canada has our fair share as well.
You know what? It's worth it. I'd rather stand in line for 4 hours than live under Liberal government for 5 years. So.
Oh, base! I haven't heard that one yet. Look at that comment.
You know what? It's worth it. I'd rather stand in line for 4 hours than live under Liberal government for 5 years. So.
That's facts. I don't like the Liberals.
Supporters.
That's another good line. That's probably a second place still to the dipstick line, but based kid there. Because that guy looks like he's maybe 20.
Worth it. I'd rather stand in line for 4 hours than live under Liberal government for 5 years.
Maybe I shouldn't call him a kid, but you know what I mean? Jaguars hat.
So. That's facts. I don't like the Liberals.
Supporters of the Stay Free Alberta petition to leave Canada and become an independent state say they are already well on their way to their goal.
The footage from inside that Eckville Community Center shows lines going out through the door, through every hallway, flooding the entire main space. This is a small town in rural Alberta where everyone knows everyone else, and every single one of them came out because even these small communities are completely done with being told that they can't work, they can't make ends meet, they can't pay their bills, and they're never going to get ahead no matter how hard they try.
A survey by Polaris Strategic Insights found 19% of 1,000 Albertans surveyed would vote for separation, while Research Co. found 31% of 703 Albertans surveyed at least support the idea of Alberta going its own way.
Support for independence is up 5 points in Edmonton, it's up 5 points in Calgary, and it's up 11 points in the rest of Alberta.
Polling also
wow, let's see this.
No matter how hard they try.
A survey by Polaris Strategic Insights found 19% of 1,000 Albertans surveyed would vote for separation.
Best comparison to MAGA would be the freedom movement that spawned after the convoy during COVID. Okay, good point. 51st, LOL. Let the syrup flow and the salt. I love Canada. I'm from Washington State. Shout out to you. Thank you, Ninja. I go to Canada to go fly fishing. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. It's the baby boomers. It is. Yeah, it is. And okay, I'll make a point on this part about the baby boomer thing. I was watching Pleb stream, the Pleb reporter, If you like the pleb, shout out to the pleb. I like the pleb. He's cool. But if you're a fan of his, you could let me know in the chat if you want. But I saw him say he was with Viva on stream, and he said, maybe I'm getting maybe this a little bit wrong, but someone said, I think Viva, like, oh, it's the boomers. The boomers are voting liberal. And then the pleb was like, whoa, we can't say that because the boomers get upset in the chat. But when people say like, oh, the boomers are voting liberal, that's not talking about the conservative boomers, which there obviously are a lot in Canada who continue to vote right wing. It's just in Canada, it is like the traditional paradigm of young people voting left, older people voting right is totally flipped right now. And for example, my whole life, when people say, oh, young people vote liberal, young people vote left, that wasn't offensive to me, even though I was voting conservative. So yeah, but like it is true in Canada that the boomers vote left, but that's obviously not, I think we can say that. Well, I think people can understand like, okay, but if I vote right, he's not talking about me. But if that's just totally backed up by the stats.
Well, Research Co. found 31% of 703 Albertans surveyed at least.
I think Canada might have the most conservative group of young people on earth, I think. That's incredible. That's one very positive sign. If it's not number one, it's right near the top of the youth in Canada are very conservative.
Well, Research Co. found 31% of 703 Albertans surveyed at least support the idea of Alberta going
Later, YH. Thank you for the chat. That was amazing. Thank you, man.
Its own way.
Support for independence is up 5 points in Edmonton, it's up 5 points in Calgary, and it's up 11 points in the rest of Alberta.
Polling also shows something else that's really important. Support for separation is up in Alberta's two biggest cities, with 31% of Calgarians and 29% of Edmontonians supporting the idea, both up by 5% since 2023. This isn't just a rural movement anymore. This is urban Albertans in our largest population centers saying that they're ready to consider independence as a real option for our future.
So you wrote an opinion piece that was published on the ctvnews.ca.
Likely something to food and water to make them docile, good slaves. A lot of people in Canada are brainwashed. I'll agree with that.
Website this week with the headline, "The threat to our nation is very real." And in it, you discuss the rise of Alberta separatism. What are your concerns?
Well, I think the important thing to understand here is that this has been something that has been really encouraged by the provincial government and by Premier Danielle Smith. It's a cynical political move.
Okay, we got 66 live viewers, which is amazing. It'd be cool if I could get to 100 live viewers. That would be great.
On her part, her strategy here is very clear. She feels
I'm more interested, to be honest, in getting subscribers. Oh, I'm more interested in just having a fun stream, but 1,000 subs would be cool too.
That if she can really fight like the fires of separatism and then get concessions from Ottawa, she can come back and say, see, I made Canada work. I'm Captain Canada.
The thing is, Jason, I think that's the voting pattern, you could argue, but probably 40% of the people in the East are still like, would vote right, like conservative. It's not like the left just dominates like crazy out there, but they definitely get enough votes to win all the time. That's for sure. But there still are a lot of, I know that's not what you're, there still are a bunch of people in the East that are, that vote conservative.
Don't vote yes in this referendum. It's very similar to what Prime Minister David Cameron did before Brexit, but we know how that ended. It takes a politician of great skill to pull that off, and it's deeply, deeply cynical.
If we actually leave Canada, the rest of the country is going to have to completely overhaul how they're governed. Every other province should be cheering for us to succeed with this referendum because it represents an end to the way that things have been done for far too long. What matters to us is that our premier warned the Prime Minister months ago that he had a limited time to fix our relationship and repair the damage. Make sure you guys like and subscribe because...
Okay, I'll check out this City TV video because I haven't actually seen it yet. It's only about 3 minutes long, I think. But I think there's some kind of slur. I'll play another video and then I'll load it up because I'll make sure.
Our hope is that Alberta separates to become its own country.
I'm in Okotoks for the Alberta Independence petition signing event. Smaller towns and cities with a large conservative voter base have been seeing strong support for the separation sentiment. At this community, just south of Calgary, there were people constantly streaming in to sign up for separation.
It hasn't been going very well in Canada for the past however long, and we have young children, and we hope to give them a better future if...
The Canadian Conservative Party is equivalent to the Democrats too. I agree. I know lots of, if you don't agree with this in the chat, that's fine. But I've been very disillusioned with the CCP in Canada. They're a little better than the Democrats, but they're like 60, 70% of the way there. I think they're pretty good on crime. They're pretty good, I think, on taxes. I think they genuinely want to lower taxes. I think they'd be harder on crime. But their position toward America, I think, is way too I just don't think they're dealing with the fact that America is so powerful. You got to negotiate. You can't be a total pushover, but I think that there's not that much distance between Carney and Poilievre on how to deal with America and immigration. Yeah, I would say they're not right wing enough on immigration and pander to the massive immigrant communities from the Trudeau wave. Yeah. Yeah. If I probably thought a little harder, there's probably other ways I like the CCP, but I don't know. I hear you. Americans don't even know how bad it truly is. Well, we have way more. America has a lot of problems too. America, I think per capita, I think still has more of a drug problem, even, which is kind of hard to believe because if you go to the downtowns in Canada, the drug problem is crazy bad, but I think statistically it's even worse in America. They have, Canada does have a higher percentage of foreign-born people. So even though we don't have this crazy illegal immigration problem like America does, we have this so much legal immigration. But America would have way more of a problem with illegal immigration. Oh, please, fake news. I saw a poll that said 45%. Really? You saw that? I would like to see that because that would be pretty fascinating.
We can make some changes in this province, and if that means separating, then so be it.
But what about the large urban center of Alberta's capital city, which generally leans left politically and is largely regarded as non-conservative? This was the scene in Edmonton, as hundreds lined up in Rundle Park.
Just like to have a conservative government, where you're allowed to have guns, you're allowed to protect your family if it comes down to it, and we can afford housing. And I'm an 18-year-old who's not going to be able to buy a house because we're allowing so many people into this country, and now we have no jobs, no houses.
This political studies professor says these events are drawing large crowds because of how they're organized and promoted.
The reality is that Alberta is diverse in rural Alberta and in urban Alberta. And
yeah, I saw this. Alberta has the most oil per capita in the entire world. It would be one of the richest countries in the entire world. We looked this up yesterday. It would be 30 to 35 from an absolute, on an absolute level for wealth, and then per capita around 10 to 15. So pretty good. I mean, it's not nothing. It's not like it would have some power to negotiate Alberta. Plus, I think Alberta just by itself, the third highest oil reserves on Earth. I think.
And so, if you have a single event in a city,
I think it's just Venezuela and Saudi that would be ahead of Alberta.
People in that city or even in the region around that city, who support or want to sign the petition will turn out there.
The Stay Free Alberta campaign has until May to collect nearly 178,000 signatures to bring the question to a possible referendum.
We're seeing the business community and those concerned with Alberta's economy very concerned that this might have a negative impact.
The Mark Carney One World Order is another good reason. Yeah, that was crazy. It was crazy the way he said that too. He said it almost like a Bond villain. The New World order. But I'm interested in the chat. Do you support Polyev or not? Let me know, because I still would say I support him because, again, I didn't like that tweet about Trump, or about Greenland, but I think you run a risk of just being so like, I still probably would support him right now, Polyev, but we'll see. I think it's good though when the right wing questions it. I don't think it's like appropriate to never call somebody out for something you don't like. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
It will not promote Alberta's prosperity, but rather the opposite. And I think with all of those kinds of disagreements or disputes even that are occurring within Alberta,
okay, this is the one here. The title of this video: Are Alberta separatists inadvertently helping Trump? And also, by the way, because I needed to take a little break there just from talking to someone. I got kind of tired. But if you want to join the stream, like Paul did, and then YAH, I believe that was Paul. Link to join stream. Whoops. If you'd like to join the stream, wait, where is it? This is it. I'll put it here. You don't need to sign up for anything. You just click the link. You could turn your camera off, leave it on if you want. But yeah, if you click that link there, then you can hop on and we could talk about whatever you want. You can, whatever, just you can say whatever you want. You don't need to be, by the way, from Canada. I don't care. But you can just, yeah, fill in, maybe just talk for 5-10 minutes and I'll get back to this thing. I don't need, or like, I mean, you don't need to like commit to a fucking long thing. Okay, but we'll watch this. This will be funny. Are they helping Trump?
From Edmonton to Okotoks and many places in between, massive lineups to sign on for Alberta independence.
You know what? It's worth it. I'd rather stand in line for 4 hours than live under Liberal government for 5 years. So
That's facts. I don't like the Liberals.
We're not for World Economic.
Oh my God.
What is it called? World Economic Forum?
Supporters of the state.
Let's go. What happens at Tim Hortons? What happened to Canada? We just don't know it yet. I missed the Canadian dream. I think a lot of people do kind of know that now. Yeah. Dude, Tim Hortons used to be so good like 20 years ago.
Free Alberta petition to leave Canada and become an independent state say they are already well on their way to their goal. That's 177,000 signatures by May 2nd.
My understanding is that we had well over 10,000 people, go through the line in Edmonton this weekend. We had 5,000 people in Okotoks. I mean, those are just the two events I was focused on. There were events all over the province.
Calgary boxes. On the other side of the argument, Thomas Lukaszik's Forever Canadian petition already has 400,000 verified signatures. He believes Donald Trump and his allies are among those cheering on the Alberta separation movement. Trump has said he wants
Prairie Patriots with the 51st state license plate.
Canada to be the 51st state. The U.S. president more recently setting his sights on controlling Venezuela. Lukaszik's Forever Canadian petition already has 400,000 verified signatures.
Yeah, so this, if you're not aware, is sort of the anti-Alberta separatist protest, Forever Canadian, about staying in Canada.
He believes Donald Trump and his allies are among those cheering on the Alberta separation movement. Trump has said he wants Canada to be the 51st state. The U.S.
So is this going to be the line to get people shamed out of doing this? Framed as, oh, if you vote for this, you're a Trumper. You're helping Trump. Is this going to be the playbook? This is the first I've heard of this. Are Alberta separatists inadvertently helping Trump?
President, more recently setting his sights on controlling Venezuela and taking over Greenland.
This is a very dangerous game that separatists are playing, and they're really causing a major national security crisis, not just for Alberta, but for all of Canada. And I hope that sanity prevails and that we put an end to it.
Jeff Rath and others leading the independence petition and taking over Greenland.
Hey, what do you think about this guy's statement here?
This is a very dangerous game that separatists are playing, and they're really causing a major national security crisis, not just for Alberta.
Man, do you know what the national security crisis is? The bad economy. How about that? The crisis is people can't afford to live. Why do you think there's so many young people who are voting conservative now? And it's not just young people, old people, middle-aged people struggling with the cost of living. You have high cost of living and a weak economy. So that's the real crisis. I hate like statements like that. Like we're not already in a crisis. Have you not seen the data? Just because maybe you're doing well in life, I don't know this guy, but
this is a very dangerous game that separatists are playing.
Oh, the dangerous game is what's happening right now in Canada and has been happening for years.
They're really causing a major national security crisis, not just for Alberta, but for all of Canada. And I hope that sanity.
That's a brutal statement. Boo.
Prevails.
Sanity prevails. Give me a break, dude. Do you know how many people are just never going to own a home in Canada? Is that not a crisis? Or when you go to the doctor and you can't even get a doctor, or you go to the doctor and they say, okay, yeah, your appointment's in 4 months from now. That didn't used to be like that.
And that we put an end to it.
Jeff Rath and others
That's brutal.
leading the independence petition say they met with U.S. government officials in Washington and they were supportive of Alberta's separation. But Rath insists.
That's interesting. I'm going to play that after I read some chats, but Alberta 70-20, 70B to Ottawa, 20B from Ottawa. I voted, left in my country, but I hate both parties. I have zero trust for them. I voted, left my country. Are you from America or here? It doesn't, but again, I don't care either way. It's all good. Eckville is a bad example because it has always been far right, I think. Okay, interesting. Because yeah, Eckville is by Red Deer, right? But okay, but that Rundle Park, that's either Edmonton or just outside, apparently was not a left area or not a right area. Had huge lines. That's what happens when you watch mainstream media. Alberta was settled and built by settlers from the Dakotas. This is why we are conservative and more American than Canadian. New Delhi, NDP.
The Americans do not want to annex the province.
It has nothing to do with taking over Alberta. It has, nothing to do with, Trump wanting to make Alberta the 51st state. It has to do with the fact that Canada has basically become a communist country controlled by communist China.
But this.
Wow, spitting. The guy, I think that's the first time, not the first time, but one of the first times I've heard this guy say that. At least I've never heard him mention communist China.
It has nothing to do with taking over Alberta. It has, nothing to do with, Trump wanting to make Alberta the 51st state. It has to do with the fact that Canada has.
A conservative Canada First show like this gives me hope for the future. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you, champion. Respectfully, a mega patriot from South Texas, USA. Shout out to you, man. Thank you.
Has basically become a communist country controlled by communist China.
But this political scientist believes the Trump administration does want to break Canada apart and gain control of Alberta's oil reserves.
If you believe Rath, and again, I have trouble believing Rath, but if you believe him when he says he's lined up a $500 billion line of credit with the United States, well, what's the collateral on that? Well, it's the oil sands. How can you declare your independence of the United States if you're relying on the United States?
I don't really get that point. Because they're obviously it's not relying. It's just, Canada relies on the U.S. right now, as is, if nothing changes. So the U.S. is going to remain the most powerful country in the world. I added you on my main channel, 2A all day, TY Eric. Thank you, but I don't exactly know what you mean because do you have a YouTube channel? I added you on my main channel. Thanks. I don't know what you're referring to, but it sounds like a good thing. You are the first conservative YouTuber I respect. I like how open-minded you are. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Oh yeah, because you said you voted left, right? Were you a Bernie bro? I'm from the Maritimes, but Ottawa has been exploiting Alberta for decades. Quebec receives 80% of the transfer payments because they are Quebec. It is a special society. I'm from the Maritimes, but Ottawa has been exploiting. Yep. 80% because they're Quebec. Yeah, Quebec has a lot of weird rules. And it's also so insane how a lot of Quebecers don't celebrate Canada Day. A lot of Quebecers definitely identify as being Quebecois more than being Canadian. And then they get all this transfer payments. Like that just seems like an insane deal. The Quebec almost reminds you of like a whiny teenager or something with like a rich parent that just complains all day long. Like, and again, there's a lot of good people that live in Quebec that aren't like that, but holy crap.
NCP and NDP MLAs have already approved money so Elections Alberta can prepare for a referendum vote this year. But it's not clear which question will appear on ballots, the one to go or the one to stay. But Rath and Lukaszuk did actually agree that the Premier is likely to choose the question proposed by the separatists. From Edmonton, Sean Amato, City News.
Very interesting.
From the launch of the petition seeking separation to recall petition.
Okay, I'm going to play this for the time being. This video is funny too. I saw parts of this. I'll play this for the time being. I'm going to take a look at another video, but because I saw it's recent, I just don't know if it's good or not. I'll kind of quickly look at it on my phone.
From the launch of the petition seeking separation to recall petitions approaching deadlines and Peter Guthrie's new political identity. Time now for
Texas, 1.4 million illegals. That's not actually surprising, which is crazy because there's so many illegal immigrants in America.
Tonight's politics panel, and joining us this evening, Mark McQuaid-Boyd, a former MLA and cabinet minister, and John Santos is a political analyst. Good evening to you both. And let's begin with the petition on separation now in a position to officially.
I think it's more like 10 Kobroks. In terms of like a U.S. state, it's actually more like 20. It kind of fell off a little bit. It used to be a little higher. Like Alberta is still the richest Canadian province, but maybe it was fifth, like during the oil heyday of like 11 years ago. But because it wouldn't be fifth, because there's like California is very rich. Texas would be and then some of those ones in the Northeast, like New York, Boston, just I guess because of tech companies, finance, maybe stuff like that. Florida, I imagine, would be quite high. It'd be like Alberta's nothing to slough at. Alberta and Saskatchewan are actually two of the only provinces that like rank kind of towards the top. Every other Canadian province, if you compare them to American provinces, is towards the bottom. Literally every other one.
Collect signatures, and doing so, as we saw in the segment off the top of the program tonight with Mitch Sylvester, CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project. Marg, as canvassers fan out across the province, town halls, rallies are held. To what degree do you see this initiative elevating debate over Alberta independence?
Well, it seems to have some legs, and I would hope that as people go out and gather signatures, they're able to answer some of the questions people are going to have, like what is this going to cost? What's, for example, we're going to have to, if we do this, we have to assume policing, education, health, border security, issuing passports and that. What's this going to cost? And do we have to assume a tenth of the debt from Canada? What are our sources of revenue going to be? There's lots of questions that I hope they can answer, because people need to go in eyes wide open into what they're going to be voting on.
John, there's already been Thomas Lukaszik's successful Forever Canadian petition. Now this one on independence, and then there's the Alberta Next panel recommending multiple referendum questions as well. What's to be made of how crowded a space this is beginning to be?
Yeah, this will be good.
If there
Okay.
is,
I just
in
wanted to
fact,
check
some
out
kind of an election to have a referendum.
This will probably be a better video. I just wanted to check on my phone what it looked like.
Information session by organizers.
Looks kind of like just a collection of stuff, which is great. Maybe we'll skip over part of that guy talking, but
Throughout the
this guy,
evening, the
Global
line to
Report
get in
HQ.
grew longer, going eventually around the block. When Albertans
Listen
did
to this
arrive,
Christmas tree up there.
they signed the petition and had the opportunity to listen to an information session by organizers. Stay Free Alberta is the group leading the signature phase, independent from the group who submitted the petition.
Hundreds of people waiting out in the cold to sign a petition that is seeking a referendum on Alberta separating from Canada.
Your industry is garbage, and if you try to complain, we're going to call you a bunch of hicks and rednecks. Would any Albertan seriously take that offer? And so,
Hello,
you know
Joel.
what? We got
Hello.
the chance for freedom, and I'm going to support freedom.
And again, if you want to call into the show,
it's, I think,
2 people so far have, which is great. It was a lot of fun. If you want to call in and give your take, we can maybe chat for 5-10 minutes. Hear what you say about, you don't even, well, whatever, probably talk about this a little bit, but even if you want to talk about Carney or Canada or whatever, USA. And again, you don't have to be from Alberta or Canada or even whatever. You can be from Bangladesh. I don't care.
Most of us just want out. Everybody's fed up. We're done with it. We got to do something.
I'm actually honored to be here and see the huge turnout of everybody, and it makes us all proud to be Albertan.
Last Friday, something unprecedented happened in Alberta politics. After decades of frustration, years of blocked pipelines, and billions sent to Ottawa never to return, Albertans can now sign a petition that could trigger the province's first ever binding referendum on.
See, look, again, we did this yesterday. This is like look at the way this guy's talking. YouTube is about to be, I think, overrun with these AI videos. I wonder what the program is that you just type in, make me a video on Alberta independence. But like, look at the way this guy's talking.
Independence.
Monday night in the rural
frustration, years of blocked pipelines.
Man,
and billions sent to Ottawa never to return.
it's actually getting pretty close. Like, it almost looks like a real person.
Frustration, years of blocked pipelines, and billions sent to Ottawa never to
No, I think you can tell it's AI, but not by very much. Unless this is a real person and I'm just totally hurting his feelings. But like, it's actually not as bad as I thought it was at first glance.
People here are lining up near the community center out the door for one thing, to support a petition calling for an Alberta independence referendum.
Nice. We got a person in the chat. Hello there.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for coming on.
Tommy Temper here.
Hello, Tommy.
Hailing from Edmonton.
Oh, nice. How are you? Were you at any of these events?
No, I wasn't. I was going to go to the one at Rundle Park, the one that apparently they had about 300 people, or not 300, 3,000 people show up. But it was about 3:00 in the afternoon by the time I found out about it. And it was going to be closing at 4:00. So I didn't have quite enough time to make it. But
that's all right.
I'm just kind of, there's enough time to be able to go in and sign up before the whole thing closes down. So we'll just have to figure out a good event to go to.
Yeah. It seems like they'll be doing them, I guess, for the next 3.5 months, I think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe at some point they'll just decide, hey, we've got enough, but I don't know exactly how that's going to work.
Yeah, well, I hope they keep good track of how many signatures that they've got and kind of keep us updated, that was the one thing about the Thomas Lukaszik, the Forever Canadian campaign, where they didn't really know how many signatures that they had as things were going along. I went to one of their things in Sylvan Lake and talked to them for a little bit, asked them a few times how many signatures they had and whatever. And then the guy, I had my cell phone rolling at the time, and then one of the guys assaulted me, tried hitting my hit my cell phone with his coffee mug. Yeah, believe me.
Were you on camera or anything like that?
Yeah, in fact, I put the video. I'm a YouTuber, so Tommy Temper Show is
Tommy Temper Show.
Yeah, and I've got the full video of me talking to the guys. So I wasn't trying to pester them or get them going or anything like that. But at the end of the day, the guy ended up trying to assault me and he actually hit my cell phone with his coffee cup. So not too happy about that. But it shows you that those guys, they didn't want to hear what I had to say, and they were just kind of your one their way or the highway. It was a bunch of boomer type people. Mind you, I'm kind of a boomer myself. But I'm pretty much hardcore right wing. Like I've always been.
I'm pretty right wing too. Yeah.
Yeah. So and really, my own take on this whole thing, because look at Quebec. Quebec has I think they voted a couple times already to separate.
You got a lot of subscribers. Nice. 8.9K.
Yeah, I've had this channel for a while. My channel is I do a lot of restreaming of other events. Like right now, one of the big things going on is the down in the States, the ICE protests and stuff like that. So I restream a lot of that and get a lot of viewers from the States and whatever.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah,
I saw you because it shows you on YouTube like who recently subscribed. So I actually did. Now that I did see you that you subscribed, like, because I think it shows like that ranking by subscribers or something. Like that little button on the YouTube Studio. I think I saw your name in there.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, where it shows how many subs a subscriber has.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I make sure that I sub back when people sub to me. If they have a lot of subs, I usually sub back to them because you want to be able to watch some of their content as well. But
I'll sub right now.
Yeah, I think that like if you look at Quebec, had a couple of votes on separating, and they never did achieve that 51% or whatever that they would have needed to enable them to do that. But what it ended up doing,
they were super close the second time, right?
Yeah, but what it ended up doing was it gives them, their foot in the door with Ottawa and getting a lot more perks than they normally would be getting. So even if this doesn't pan out for us here in Alberta, it still is going to make Ottawa shake in their boots.
I think it's almost, I was thinking about this last night that like Carney may have to, if this Alberta independence movement continues to get momentum in the way it is, he might have to like force the pipeline build as a way to negotiate for the people that want to stay in Alberta or stay in Canada. Like, I could see that happening if this continues the way it is, that there all of a sudden becomes a ton of urgency to build the pipeline and try to win votes back from like the people in the middle in Alberta. But there already should be urgency though. I think the pipeline is such a no-brainer in my opinion to build. So we'll see what happens, but yeah,
my take on I'm pretty negative on Carney. Carney is he's a net zero zealot.
I don't like
Davos. He's he's out for keeping the oil in the ground. He doesn't want to. He wants to make money off of the Brookfield thing and the batteries and the electric and the rest of that stuff. So just like Trudeau, when Trudeau came out west here, he said, we want to shut in the oil sands. He wanted to shut down the oil sands. And Carney is exactly the same way. This MOU is nothing more than just a piece of paper with nothing else on it. What does he do first thing? He runs out to BC and talks to the foundation, the Native Foundation that is funded by the people that want to keep the oil in the ground, and says, well, we have to get these guys on our side, which of course is never going to happen. So, I just don't trust Carney at all.
I don't put a lot of stock in that MOU. Like, it's not even, I don't know why all this has to move so slow. I mean, I get it's like a major project, but Canada moves so slow. I don't think the MOU really means a whole lot either. Like,
well, Carney has a lot of money tied up in this.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, Carney has a lot of money tied up in this, the carbon credits and that whole thing. So he wants to make money off of the credit system. And, that's why the MOU is tied up into caps on oil and clean oil, green oil, and the rest of this kind of BS. He's the climate change zealot. So at the end of the day, he's not out for anything that Alberta is out for at all. He's not. He's not.
Do
good
you
for
think
Alberta.
the pipeline will get built?
I doubt it. Not under Carney. Carney is not pro pipeline at all. It's a facade with him because he knows that Alberta wants to separate. So the MOU, and plus he also, needs to keep the vote up. He was dropping in the polls so badly that he had to do something in order to keep the voters on his side.
Right. Do you think he would want to build the pipeline if he thinks that Alberta is actually going to leave?
I would doubt it. I would
It's a
doubt it.
hypothetical, but
No, he's net zero. He wrote the book. He's like so far left on the net zero thing that look at what did he do? He went over to China.
Yeah.
He's so foolish that he doesn't want to deal with Trump, but instead he runs over to China and drops the tariff on the EVs. They get 50,000 EVs into Canada here, which of course is going to piss off Trump. He has his EV mandate for the number of EVs. He's not an oil guy at all.
No, he's not. I agree. Yeah, the trip he took, I can't remember what I was going to say. I can't remember what I was going to say about Carney.
Yeah, and he's over at the WEF.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Davos,
Did you see the speech he did today? Did you watch that speech?
Oh, just ridiculous! It's
Man, that was a dark speech. That was incredible.
Hammering Trump into the ground.
The whole speech was against Trump. Like, that was the darkest I think he's been since he won the election. He was kind of like that during the campaign, but he turned it up like to a whole nother level there. That was the most negative I've seen him be since he took office. That reminded me of like a Trudeau speech. It's just that Trudeau doesn't even know how to talk.
Carney is the worst thing that has ever happened to Canada because in reality, the U.S. is our trading partner right across the border. But instead of actually talking to him and working out a deal with Trump, like maybe 10% tariff or something like that, he just plain ignored him, based our whole thing on the thing with the Mexico and Canada with that Cusco trade agreement, which, and that's it. But when that expires, and all he did is just between him and Doug Ford, they pissed off Trump so bad that now he's dug himself into a hole, and he's running around all over to every other country in the world trying to make trade deals when we have to try and ship our stuff, 10,000 kilometers away when we could be shipping it down to the States. It's just I'm so sick of Carney and everything he's done to damage Canada, but yet, hey, elbows up, everyone.
Yeah, I know. And I made this point before, but the idea that we're going to diversify trade, but not build a pipeline to British Columbia is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. That makes no sense. Those two positions, to have those at the same time is insane. Our trade share with the United States is 62%. So the vast majority of our trade goes to USA. USA is always going to be, no matter what Carney does, it's going to be the most powerful country, or the most important country rather, to Canada by far. So yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't, I don't know where this is going to end, but it's insane that like that speech from Carney today was bizarre. He was almost just like poking at Trump the entire time. It was almost like Carney wants to get the rise out of Trump.
Well, and he's trying to gang up on Trump with the rest of the world, with everybody else that was there, So it's basically now the European Union and that whole thing all against Trump, and he's just pushing Trump's button, which of course
Yeah.
is pissing him off even more. So good luck on making any kind of trade deals with Trump.
For sure. I'm excited for Trump's speech tomorrow.
Yeah. It should be epic.
Oh my! It actually would be unreal. I actually
Yeah.
kind of hope he calls Canada out, because I don't think we should be, as like maybe the 10th most powerful country on earth, making speeches like that. Like, and then the
Wow,
country right
exactly.
below us, we're just going to
Yep.
piss off like that. It's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is BC with Ebby there. Like look at what happened with Saskatchewan and the potash. Instead of working with him on getting it on ships in Vancouver, he ended up putting it on trains down to Seattle. Bypassing the whole thing, because Eby is such a far leftist there that he doesn't even want anything happening, any kind of and with the look at the real estate there, where they bring in this drip thing with the natives, and all of a sudden they're fighting over who owns what land, and you can't even get a mortgage out there with those areas where they say the natives now control this area.
Right.
It's just the lefties are killing Canada.
Totally. Yeah, that's our biggest problem in Canada for sure, is there's just so many laws and so many like social norms, I guess you could say, that Canada has in place that prevent prosperity here. That's way more of a problem. Like our obsession with, like net zero climate change, even the pandering, I would say, to the indigenous leaders that lobby the government. That's a way bigger problem than whatever Trump is going to do. But it's just so incredible how the Liberals successfully convinced the country that Trump was our biggest problem and they needed to get a fourth term. That is so, oh man, there's not that much to be I think optimistic about in Canada, but at least I'm optimistic that I think young people are swinging conservative. I try to kind of remember that part.
Absolutely. If you look at the polls out there, they're showing that the people under 30 are absolutely, like the vast majority of them are going to be voting conservative. But you've got the older people, the boomers, they're primarily liberal voters.
Yeah.
And most of it is because they've made it already. They've got their nest egg, they've got their house, they've got everything. There's really nothing for them to lose, whereas a young person, where's the jobs? You bring in so many foreign people, foreign workers, so many immigrants. In fact, there's I think 1 million people lined up to be processed in Canada. The government can't even keep up with that, and yet my son can't even get a job in the summer. A student.
Yeah. Wow.
Working anywhere, because you've got all these foreign workers that have taken up all the entry type jobs. It's ridiculous.
I know, it's unforgivable. There was no go ahead.
And there's lineups at the food banks. There's not enough food. People aren't making enough money. There's not enough housing. They're building 8plexes on single family lots to try and beef up the housing here in Edmonton. It's and the hospitals. There's lineups like crazy in the hospitals because the government doesn't think at all about bringing in overloading us with too many immigrants, but instead. They look at every one of those people coming in as a new liberal voter. They're bringing in voters is what they're doing, and it's despicable.
Totally. And there was never a debate that I can remember. If there was a debate, it was relatively small about should we import millions and millions of immigrants into Canada? Like in any of those leader debates, I don't remember that being a topic. Do we need 10 million immigrants from Asia, South Asia coming here? Like,
who asked me?
And then, what's that?
Who asked you? Who asked me? Nobody.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the other part that bothers me too about it is like the argument is it's good for the economy, but who has it been good for importing all these immigrants into Canada? I don't think it's been good for the immigrants. I don't think it's been good for the average Canadian, right? Like your son, of course not. I think maybe the CEO of like Uber Eats, the executives of like Tim Hortons have benefited, but Canada now has like 10 million more people than we did maybe whatever 15, 20 years ago, and not a good economy. So the whole argument that we need the immigrants for the economy, I think is totally broken down, because we have low economic growth and now we just have way more people, and the homes have gone up. There's long wait times to get a doctor, to get seen for medical care. It's actually incredible how much Trudeau has screwed up Canada. Like, a lot of that has to fall on not just Trudeau, I guess, but his government.
Well, and remember, Carney was there to advise Trudeau as well, for quite a while. So, and also with the net zero and the carbon taxes and all the rest of that crap. Look at Carney had to get rid of that consumer carbon tax. Remember the Pierre Poilievre with his axe to tax. The only reason Carney got rid of that tax is because he felt threatened by Poilievre, and that Poilievre might have taken over the election and actually gotten in. But instead, he did stuff like that to appease the voters, to make sure that he still was able to, win the vote.
And it worked. That's the thing that makes me so crazy, is that crap worked, and the elbows up crap. Got it. Oh man, I cannot believe that worked.
Yeah, elbows up, elbows up.
That was so cringe. It's still cringe today.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So do you think this will pass? Like, what's your reading on this independence movement? How long have you been following it, and what are you hearing there in Alberta?
Well, I'm absolutely pro-independence right from day one, but I've never really done a show like you're doing here right now on independence. Most of my stuff and I am on YouTube quite a bit. I'm absolutely for it. It's not going to pass. It's a big thing, and actually, I'm pretty surprised at the numbers. The numbers are big. They're growing all the time, and I don't know if we're going to hit 50% as far as when it does go to the vote in the fall. But it certainly will put one hell of a scare into Ottawa. That's 100% sure. So that's a big reason that I'm for this independence in the vote. And people are saying, well, yeah, but you guys that are pro-independence, you just want to become the United States, Trump's 51st state. That's all that you guys are in for. No.
I think the majority. I think the majority of people want to be an independent country. I think.
Yeah, well, we're voting. The vote is about separating from Canada. It's not becoming part of the states. And leave it up to the people. If the people want to join up with the states, we'll have another vote to see whether or not, the majority are going to want to do that. So don't worry. Don't worry about that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, my take on it would be, I think there definitely will be a vote, but I don't think the chances of Alberta leaving are zero, but I don't it's not 100. I don't know what the odds would be. But I do think as more people see these long lines and just hear more of the argument, the Alberta, people talk more about the equalization payments, talk about just the benefits that if Alberta could govern itself more and not have kind of Ottawa dictating things. I don't know where the number would be. Say it right now is at 31%. I've seen that number in support of leaving. I think it'll get to 40, but I don't know from there where it's going to go. It's going to have to be kind of Brexit, just kind of slowly keep creeping up. So if it gets to 42, 43, I could see a world where it gets to 52 and it passes. I could see that happening.
Well, let's face it, probably the number one reason that Alberta wants to separate, in my mind anyways, is because we've been beaten down forever by Ottawa. You've got this equalization payment stuff where, money gets sucked tax-wise out of the taxes that are paid by the province to Ottawa. And then instead of that being distributed evenly across Canada, Quebec and Ontario get the majority of that. And,
that's so
I've talked to people in Quebec. Yeah, I've talked to people in Quebec, and the average Quebecer doesn't give a crap about Alberta money at all. And they have enough oil and gas in their ground that all they have to do is put the shovel in the ground and start going for it. But they're so negative to oil and gas that they don't want to do that. But they'll take our money, which is derived from oil and gas, all day long.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
It's like a
we're
fantasy that-
that's the number one reason that people in Alberta are sick and tired of. Plus, the other thing is that when the vote happens for Canada, for a party in Canada, by time the polls close in Ontario, it's already done. So even though you have conservatives out west here, our vote doesn't count anyways, because you don't have, by way of the number of people living out here, you don't have representation. The number of MPs should be a lot more in Ottawa. And Trudeau said that he was going to straighten that out. But no, he never did, because he knows damn well that the way things are set up, the Liberals are going to get in forever. And they rigged the system to make sure that they're going to get in again. It's like the same thing with bringing in the immigrants, right? Because when an immigrant comes into the country, whoever is in power when they got in, that's who they're going to vote for.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I actually have never even looked up the data on that, but like say someone that's been in Canada for 10 years or less, where do they vote? I would assume it would be for the whatever, like not all of them, but I assume it would be proportionally for the person they think is going to give them the most government benefits. And that's going to be a leftist party.
Well, keep in mind that you have an awful lot of people that want something for nothing. It's like the NDP party is about that too. And that's why NDP gets a lot of votes. And it's all from, and also it's the unions. The unions are NDP. And from that, by way of that, Liberal as well. Basically, shift between the Liberals and the NDP. Very rarely do the labor type people vote Conservative, because we're more of entrepreneurial type people, right? Start your own business, do your own thing, work hard all your life, instead of being on welfare or working for the government or for the man, whatever, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of why Conservatives are a hardworking group of people, whereas the other people just want a bunch of freebies.
Yeah, I think 25% of the country works for the government, maybe directly or indirectly. It's probably even higher when you consider just the amount of people that work in companies that have like a major contract with the government or something like that. But the other thing about that, so I think that's like a benefit for the left. The one thing that I sometimes think about in terms of why the Conservatives don't win more elections is there's the Liberals and the NDP. So you would think that with three major parties in Canada, the Conservatives would have the natural advantage. It obviously hasn't been working like that lately. And then part of that is the NDP just totally fell off. But,
yeah, well, when it comes to voting in Ottawa, well, the Liberals and the NDP gang up together, as a sort of a coalition to push the votes through. Whereas, with the Conservatives, you've got the PPC party. It's probably only about 3% or whatever, but still that splits the vote from the Conservatives. So that the Conservative is a little bit less. So, the NDP, and that's the reason that Trudeau stayed in power for so long and look at, Jagmeet was voting along with the Liberals to prop them up and keep them in power, keep that thing running as long as possible before a vote actually happened, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's a crazy country that we live in here, but like I'm okay myself because I'm fairly well-to-do. I don't have to worry about working or getting a job or any of this kind of stuff. I've got a house and that kind of stuff. I'm doing good, but my line of thinking is I'm out for the little guy. I just want to help the little guy out there. The little guy that doesn't have anything is starting fresh. He needs to have a good start and a good go in Canada here, and he's being hard done by. Look at the average person can't go and get married, have a family, have a house, that sort of thing. All those things are just like because of inflation, and really the government has printed so much money, especially with COVID. With the COVID thing, they said, hey, everybody, don't work, shut down all the businesses, give out a whole bunch of money, print a whole bunch of money, give it out to people as COVID relief. That was the worst of it. And since then, inflation has been going up so much here, even right now, that you've got people lined up at food banks. People can't afford to live. It's crazy.
Totally. When you hear like this has probably picked up a lot of steam in the last like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Have you heard people just on the street or in daily life in Alberta talking about this? Because I was in Alberta, but it was like 6 weeks now, I think, that I've been in Saskatchewan. Who have you heard like on the street people talking about this?
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. Life is tougher here right now.
Well,
and
no,
let's
talk
face
about
it,
the petition. The petition.
Oh, the petition. Well, yeah, the number of people that have gone out to sign the petition, the numbers are evident. You know,
Yeah.
even the mainstream media can't poo-poo that. You know, I'm going to actually go out on. I live close to White Avenue here, so I'm going to go out on the strip with my microphone and camera and
Oh, cool.
interview a bunch of people on the strip there and see what their views are like. Now, where I live is staunch NDP territory, so you know I know that a lot of the people are going to be, no, we want to stay in, whatever. You know,
That's good though for content. That'll be good content.
Oh yeah, it will be. But yeah, like I said, I'm really astounded at the number of people that are pro independence. Actually, really, I am.
I kind of have been too. Like I knew there was I knew there was some, but there was always talk like, oh, it's nothing. A lot of people even kind of were dismissing it, even a few months ago, saying like, oh, it's just this tiny fringe, but it's clearly not. It's actually pretty substantial.
A lot more. Whereabouts are you from? Or
Saskatoon.
do you live? Saskatoon. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep.
I run a Facebook group called Saskatchewan News Now. Saskatchewan News Now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go over there and join up, and I'll make you.
I will. Yeah, I will. Saskatchewan. Cool.
Need to get more Saskatchewan news out there.
Nice. Cool. Okay, maybe I'll get back to this video, but that was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I saw you on there, and I saw you're taking guests and that. Maybe somebody else. Yeah, hit that StreamYard link. It's really easy to get on here, and let's hear what some other people have to say.
Cool,
Other than that, check out my channel. It's easy to find. Just do a search for Tommy Temper Show, and I'm pretty pro Canadian, pro conservative, and usually have a lot to say. And like my people in my chat are, trolls, lefties, right wing, whatever.
I love it.
Yeah, and they're always arguing and stuff like that. But I like to hear both sides of the story, not just one side. Like they say it's like an echo chamber, that kind of thing. I don't like that. But thanks a lot, Eric. Nice to meet you. And come on in my chat sometime if you see me go live. Turn on that bell. Yeah. Make sure you turn on Eric's bell there so that you can find out whenever he goes live. I love to watch live content. That's my number one thing of being on YouTube and on the internet. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you so much. That was great. Yeah, and if you see, like, I'll be streaming another time too. So hop on whenever you feel like it. This was great.
Sounded good. Yeah. Take care.
Take care.
Boot me out of here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, shout out to Tommy Temper. That was great. Check out his YouTube channel. Good Edmonton guy there. Tommy Temper, the Tommy Temper Show, at Tommy Temper Show. Very good. He's got
blocked pipelines.
8.9K subs. I'll keep going through the chat. Yeah, feel free to keep chatting. And of course, there's that link if you want to hop in and have a chat. But I love all the questions in the chat, stuff like that. I will play this video because I'm going to just go use the washroom, and then I'll be right back.
Hit that subscribe button because over the next 120 days, we're tracking every development in this.
Isn't this a creepy, though? It's AI. It's getting pretty close.
Petition drive, analyzing the signature numbers as they come in, and documenting whether citizen-initiated
just nobody is that stiff with his like suit on.
Democracy can actually work in Canada when it challenges federal power.
We were going to introduce it regardless of what the outcome of the election was. It just so happens that this is the timing now that we're back from a week from constituency break.
Bill 54 proposes many changes to Alberta election rules, among them lowering the threshold for a citizen-led referendum to 10% of people who voted in the last election. It would currently take 20% of eligible voters. The bill would also allow 120 days to gather those signatures, a boost from 90 days.
On May 15, 2025, Bill 54 became law. The mainstream media framed it as dangerous separatist legislation. Opposition critics called it reckless. But what Bill 54 actually did was restore citizen power that hadn't existed in meaningful form since 1923, the last time a citizen-initiated petition successfully triggered a referendum in Alberta. The numbers tell the story. Before Bill 54, constitutional referendum petitions required signatures from 20% of all registered voters province-wide, including 20% of electors in at least 2/3 of Alberta's electoral divisions. The collection period was 90 days. That threshold was designed to be nearly impossible to reach. Bill 54 reduced the requirement to 10% of voters who cast a ballot in the last general election. It extended the collection period from 90 to 120 days. It shortened the chief electoral officer's review timeline and expanded their ability to refer proposals to court for constitutional review, eliminating the endless procedural delays that had strangled previous attempts. Think about that shift. The previous threshold translated to roughly 294,000 signatures under the old rules. The new threshold, 177,32 signatures. That's a reduction of nearly 40%. And critically, it's based on actual voters in the last election, not the theoretical total of all registered voters.
Among them, lowering the threshold for a citizen-led referendum to 10% of people who voted in the last election. It would currently take 20% of eligible voters. The bill would also allow 120 days to gather those signatures, a boost from 90 days. The Premier wanted the Conservatives to win, but says she's still not a separatist.
I believe in Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada. However, there is a citizen-initiated referenda process that if citizens want to put a question on a ballot and get enough of their fellow citizens to sign that petition, then those questions will be put forward. Again, I don't want to prejudge what a question might be.
The timing matters. Premier Danielle Smith introduced Bill 54 on April 30th, 2025, exactly one day after Liberal Prime Minister Mark Carney won the federal election. Fourth consecutive Liberal victory. Fourth consecutive government that Alberta voters overwhelmingly rejected. The UCP government passed it as democratic renewal. Critics called it manufacturing a unity crisis. But the mechanism itself is neutral. It simply makes citizen-initiated referendums achievable for the first time in a century. If that frustrates you, 4 consecutive federal elections where Alberta's votes didn't matter, drop a comment below. Tell us whether you think this petition will reach its target or fall short. The comment section on this channel has consistently provided better analysis than mainstream media. So let's hear you.
The AI guy, was that guy keeping you entertained? AI bro. Hey, this is Mitch.
Time this evening?
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. How mobilized are you to begin collecting signatures? What should Albertans expect of your canvassing campaign?
Canvassing campaign is going to be province-wide. What we're going to do is we're going to probably hit every community in the province, and we're mobilizing a large group of volunteers to actually accomplish that and get that done. We're getting our canvassers approved. We're asking for more canvassers, and we've started collecting signatures already, as you saw.
Okay, I'm going to go on the chat, but I'm just going to go because I missed so many. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Call into the show at EIC Ed Barrett. I haven't even seen any of the chats yet. Our FedGov is compromised and MI6. An agency I also am a member of will not intervene if RCMP cleared Carney. It looks bad. How many games till Jari? I've been. Hey, Eric, hit me up if you ever want more help, content, whatever. I have to take off. Oh, thank you. Yeah, see you, Paul. Thanks for being in the stream, man. Thanks for the initial call. Paul is the GOAT, the first person to call in. I paid $1 million in taxes. How about you? Wow. Shout out to you. Viorel. Government isn't working. Anyone, I worked 35 years already. Anyone that's clearly behind Carney has lost all my respect. Get a job. Oh. The left is worried about the money tree drying up. Thanks, Eric. Thank you, Tommy. We're tired of paying so many taxes for the feds to waste it, taking our freedoms away.
Introduction.
The legal counsel is Jeffrey Rath, a constitutional lawyer who has argued and won treaty and Aboriginal rights cases at the Supreme Court of Canada. The choice of legal
Man, that's crazy.
Live.
I wonder if he just prompted ChatGPT or something like that and said, make me a video on Alberta separatism, and then just spit this out. And it's doing pretty well. 3,400 views in 7 hours. I mean, that's not bad. This might be like the future. Maybe he's like still has to do the work to get all the clips. But anyway, that's not the point of this.
Gathering signatures.
It's Jeffrey Rath.
To rescue Alberta from the clutches of people in Ottawa.
Jeffrey Rath was the first to sign the petition seeking a referendum on the question, do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to...
And yeah, if anyone would like to call in, feel free. Oh, like that person's picture is bikini. I think it'll be fine on the YouTube thing. Never publicized till now. Alberta has to leave or we don't survive. Libs are getting more corrupt every day. Anyway, maybe I'll just read the new chats from now. The PPC is the only conservative party in Canada. The rest are communist or socialist. You are such victims. F, lies. Violet. Is this here in... Okay, well, call into the show, Violet. Call into the show. Here in town, a lot of companies are hiring. Cool. Where you live? The guy talking, my son can't get a job. Okay, call into the show then, Violet, because I don't think anything we said is even debatable. Like the economy is bad. So some people have jobs. Yes, that's true. Like, of course, it's not, most people have a job, but let's see, the population growth slowed in late 24 and early 25, reflecting government efforts to reduce temporary and permanent. Yes, it's gone down. Like the growth rate has gone down, but we are now at a crazy level we have way too many immigrants. And I don't think we're going to actually do remigration. So the level of immigrants is clearly still way, way out of whack. I know some people want remigration or essentially negative immigration. But yeah, anyway, I don't, honestly, if you disagree, Trump won with eggs, then you can call in and it'd be fun. We could debate, and I won't be a jerk. I won't like shout at you. Management got to go this summer.
Be part of Canada to become an independent state.
The Alberta Prosperity Project has toured the province extensively. Sylvester notes something striking about these events. Most attendees have never been to a political meeting before. There's minimal opposition at the town halls. He expected confrontation.
Can someone summarize kind of what the chat, like I can't really follow exactly what the current argument is, but I like it. I like the back and forth. I think it's good. And if you're leftist, feel free to comment. I love it, but
particularly after running similar tours for an Alberta pension plan proposal that polling showed
AI guy creeps me out.
$63 in 2024-25.
Per capita equalization by province, fiscal year 23-24. Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan 0. Quebec 15.45. Manitoba 3109. I'd like to see other years as well. But obviously Quebec has a massive population too, so at an absolute number, it'd be number one.
Federal revenues than they received back. The pattern extends beyond equalization. Employment insurance shows similar dynamics. Since 2007, workers in Alberta contributed 13.4% of EI's total revenues, while receiving only 11.2% of EI payments. Albertans' cumulative net contribution to employment insurance from 2007 to 2022 was $7.5 billion. Why does Alberta contribute disproportionately? Demographics and income. Alberta has the youngest population of any province, the smallest percentage of residents over 65, meaning fewer CPP and OAS recipients. According to census data, 1 in 8 Albertans over 15 earns more than $100,000 annually. Only 11% of Canadians live in Alberta.
Yet when you come to Calgary, you tell people you're sorry.
Fighting for Line 5 on every front. The difference? Line 5 serves Ontario and Quebec. Keystone XL served Alberta.
You've been saying two different messages. Down east, you've been...
Okay, let's see what this is. This is some sort of town hall maybe event. This guy, his shirt says, "I love oil sands." Let's see what he said.
Telling people that you want to kill the single biggest employer in our province. You're in Alberta right now, sir. You're not in Ottawa. Yet when you come to Calgary, you tell people you're sorry. Well, I'm sorry. I'm a little confused. There is one of two things, Mr. Prime Minister. You are either a liar or you're confused. And I'm beginning to think it's both.
I have talked repeatedly about the fact we need to get off of fossil fuels as a dependency we have. We need to move beyond fossil fuel.
British Columbia politicians
Man, well, I don't know what the context is. I guess that was the same. I don't know. It's just an AI video, but I mean, I know Trudeau said that, but I don't know if he said that to that guy, but man, Trudeau is we need to move off of fossil fuels. I can't believe he was the leader of the country.
Really unacceptable.
He clearly doesn't understand what is happening in the energy sector in Alberta.
He just doesn't get it. That coming from Alberta's finance minister after Quebec's premier said there's no social license for moving what he describes as dirty oil through his province.
Isn't that incredible? And then Quebec wants equalization payment. Holy.
What is happening in the energy sector in Alberta.
He just doesn't get it. That coming from Alberta's finance minister after Quebec's premier said there's no social license for moving what he describes as dirty oil through his province. Joe Ceci made the remarks heading into the First Minister's meeting in Ottawa today, where there's also concerns Quebec is just getting too much money from the federal government.
The carbon tax provides another data point. Despite Albertans consistently rejecting it, the federal carbon tax will cost a family $30 every time they fuel up their minivan in 2030. The rebate doesn't cover garbage like that.
54, this is what we think of you. You're garbage like that. This is treaty land, and we stand on it today.
This is treaty country, and any talk of separation is really insanity.
Oh my gosh, bro. So ridiculous. That's so stupid. Like, how many times do the First Nations leaders have to get all this attention? People, I mean, I guess, anyway. This guy here's this forever Canadian guy. I think we just watched a bit of him talking.
Be done. And because of you, because of your effort, because of everything that you have been doing every day, collecting signatures in the rain, in southern Alberta, in snow, in variety of places, you have achieved what all of us were hoping.
He sounds like he's from Denmark or something.
And friends, not only did we meet the required target of 300,000 signatures, but we have actually just blown past that. And we are now at, are you ready? Yes! 456,365.
The Alberta Prosperity Project states their goal is 1 million signatures, more than double the anti-separation.
Hey, Violet, call into the show.
Total. They're not targeting the minimum threshold. They're aiming for a number that demonstrates overwhelming. Come on, let's go.
The problem in Alberta that we have is all the oils in Alberta and all the dipsticks are out east.
Okay, we're going to go. This is an example of. See, look at, like, are you kidding me, man? These guys. Look at this here. The block. This is the
For a long time, we've been talking about trying to separate from Canada. Now we're seeing that out in Alberta. For the people in Alberta who want to separate, do you have any tips for them on how to actually get the job?
Look, so they laugh. Like, look at this attitude in Quebec. This is so insane. They laugh.
For a long time, we've been talking
Even
about
though,
trying to separate.
like, I think every Quebec political party right now is somewhat separatist. Maybe not all of them, but I think a lot of them are separatists. There's a huge separatist movement still in Quebec, though.
Talking about trying to separate from Canada. Now we're seeing that out in Alberta. For the people in Alberta who want to separate, do you have any tips for them on how to actually get the job?
They laugh. Like, what a bunch of jerks. This is like the people laughing when when Trump said he was going to run. And people were like, oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. That's insane. That's so condescending and just so nasty for these people to be doing that, laughing about that. Hey, I want to get these screens. Like, I might need to get a bigger screen because it's kind of hard to see. These chats are kind of, maybe if I do that, it'll be better. Okay, but do you mean that as a insult, Violet? Because I'm probably going to ban you for that statement. Just because that's just very nasty. You're not arguing in good faith there. You're Jesus followers. Like, I'm assuming you mean that, unless you can justify it in like the next 5 seconds, that you mean that as like an insult. Unless you have like a minute to tell me the context of that, or I'm going to ban you. Because I'm actually fine with insults, but you can't use that as an insult. That's total garbage. That'd be like, I would consider that on the same level as someone coming in here and throwing around the N-word.
Our success so far, it does not place me in a position to give them tips about what to do, but I could give them tips about what not to do, not now. The first idea is to define oneself as a nation. Therefore, it requires a culture of their own. And I am not certain that oil and gas qualify to define a culture. But it's there.
Call into the show, Violet. Viorel, whatever your name is. Viorel. Call in.
Theirs to decide if they want to vindicate the right to self-determination. Would never interfere in that. It belongs to them. I would like us to be the first to do so.
Okay, whatever. I banned her. I like trolling, but I don't think you can say you're a Jesus follower as an insult. I don't like that. But yeah. Anyway, she's banned. Later.
Well, we're now joined by the Bloc Québécois leader, Yves-François Blanchet. Monsieur Blanchet, bonsoir. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Listen, I want to begin our discussion today on the MOU signed between Ottawa and Alberta. And by the time this interview airs, you will have voted against the Conservative motion today. But I'm wondering if you could talk to us about the concerns you have about this MOU.
The other thing, though, about having the ability to call in, it's very nice because then if someone's trolling, then it's like, hey, well, come talk to me then. Explain your position. But if they just sit there and keep trolling, that's just so lame. Like, at least come up and troll to my face. Then it's more fun for the viewers. And yeah. Okay, this is Blanchette, and he's talking about the Ottawa-Alberta MOU shouldn't exist at all. And then I might just shift the stream. I'll probably stay live just for fun. But after this, I might just shift to some news topics of the day. So if you have any ideas or want me to react to any certain news videos, you can put it in the chat.
Well, we're now joined by the Bloc Québécois leader, Yves-François Blanchet. Monsieur Blanchet, bonsoir. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Listen, I want to begin our discussion today on the MOU signed between Ottawa and Alberta. And by the time this interview airs, you will have voted against the Conservative motion today. But I'm wondering if you could talk to us about the concerns you have about this MOU.
Basically, it should not exist at all. The future of Canada, Quebec, the whole world, including Alberta, should not be in oil and gas industry.
What an idiot. Why does he even have, like, his position on this, I would say, should have the same weight as some random person in, like, Nova Scotia. Who cares what you think? Why is this person even being interviewed? The leader of the Bloc Québécois, Ottawa, Alberta MOU shouldn't exist at all. Who cares what you think, dude?
Interview airs, you will have voted against the Conservative motion today. But I'm wondering if you could talk to us about the concerns you have about this MOU.
Basically, it should not exist at all. The future of Canada, Quebec, the whole world, including Alberta, should not be in oil and gas industry. Alberta should, as anybody else on the planet, start slowly but frankly to change and to go toward a different economy, which will not be based on carbon because it is harmful. The Conservatives have presented a motion which basically is made to be a trap for the government. For us, it's very easy. They know we are against it. We will vote against it and see what happens. But it's a problem for the Prime Minister because within his own caucus, part of which was there under Justin Trudeau. And under Justin Trudeau, they pretended to have some environmental considerations, and Mr. Guilbeault was Minister of Environment. So now the caucus seems to be divided, and from within, Mr. Guilbeault is attacking frankly, his own government.
As you say, being critical in that opinion piece that was published today by the Toronto Star, written by Monsieur Guilbeault. But I understand you also have jurisdictional concerns around the MOU, because the Conservatives will say the Prime Minister constitutionally has the power right now to approve a pipeline.
Yeah, that's another part of the question. We said that we would be the most important voice for the fear that British Columbia should have about this right that the government pretends to have
to go through British Columbia against the will of British Columbia and the will of First Nations. If it does happen in British Columbia, it might happen in Quebec. This is why we just became kind of objective allies in this debate. And the law on which they base their action is C5. And C5 by itself is a problem. It's been a long time. We said in June that this law gave the minister the right to suspend the implementation of any Canadian law by his own will, which is absolutely unacceptable in a democracy. And nobody seemed to have noticed so far. And recently there was a paper by El Tirage which reminded us of that. And then there was something in the French media this morning. The government has suspended democracy and the parliament in order to have pipelines go through parts of the territory which might not want it. That's a very, very important problem.
We're quickly running out of time here, but I also want to ask you about Bill C9, the government's hate crime bill.
I'm still here. I'm just setting up. I'm just going to change the thumbnail and the title just to make it more of a broad news station. I'm going to react to some clips I saw earlier today, which are pretty funny. And then, just kind of talk about the Canadian news in general. So that's what I'm doing here.
And the Attorney General reportedly.
And again, feel free, if you would like, for sure, feel free to hop in to the show and we can chat. I would still love more of that. And we can debate, whatever.
Negotiating an amendment, one that removes the current exemption that protects religious text and debate from hate crimes legislation. There are religious groups that are concerned that if you remove that exemption, they will be silenced. They will be unable to practice.
So you're saying if Alberta, is your point of view, EIC, that if Alberta leaves Canada, then USA will take over Alberta? Is that what you're saying? I want to go Archie Bunker right now. Just thinking about it. Agreed at Brock. See what Brock said here. And the skilled part of skilled trades is disappearing. The government has removed all the laws. We had to remove them. LOL, very funny. But am I right? Is that what you're saying? That you think if Alberta leaves, no one is separating, period? So you think it'll fail. But do you think am I right when I say that you think if it does pass, USA will scoop up Alberta? Pipeline is safer than rail. It is. Yours should know that as a Quebecois, or do you need reminding? Yeah. The fear around pipelines is so irrational in Canada. It's almost like the fear about freaking COVID. Separate, wear a mask, don't ever go outside. Why he went to She. No paper trail.
Their faith. What do you say to that concern?
I don't believe any part of it. First, the law will not have anyone go against a book or go against someone, and nobody knows who wrote it 1,000 or 3,000 years ago. So let's be coherent and logical. Then if somebody decides to say words and sentences which are open invitation to violence, that is a problem. But if the intention is clearly an educative one, or there are some evocation of not so clear things in arts, we understand that the law protects that. But what Adil Sharkawi did in Montreal, pronouncing an open invitation to violence, to genocide against the Jew people, is something which cannot in any way be accepted. The majority of Canadians are in agreement with us about this, and a very large consensus in Quebec says the same thing as we do. So the government had to decide either to put itself at the service of religious minorities or put itself at the service of the whole population of both Canada and Quebec. For the time being, at present time, they seem to be doing the right thing, but as you have seen, it tended to change a lot. We will know much more about it in the coming minutes.
This is also the last week before Parliament rises for Christmas. And I want to ask you, how long do you think this minority Parliament can last? When Parliament came back in September, you talked about giving this government a year. Does it have a year before we go to another election, do you think?
I do not know when we will go into another election, but I do know that more and more people, a lot of them in Quebec and some of them elsewhere in Canada, understand very clearly that this government has been elected pretending things which it never delivered. The genius did not solve the tariff crisis. The genius did not solve the trade crisis. The genius.
Yeah, I don't understand the point of the bloc. Why should they even be a federal party? Just be a Quebec politician. Just run for the premier of Quebec. The entire bloc thing is just so bizarre. Okay, I switched the title of the stream to just Canada news, so we'll have some fun here. Rip through some chat or some news, but thank you everyone for chatting. It's been a lot of fun for me. This has definitely been my biggest stream ever. So far the new format I think is working well. Plus, I think just the Alberta independence topic is very, very topical, and I think people are very interested in that. But we only have one choice, and that is independence. Why do we have to listen to these French? Yeah, we don't have a carbon. The fact that he has a point of view on the Alberta-Ottawa MOU is incredible to me. And that he's on television. This is what I think. Nobody cares. Like, only an idiot, I think, would care about what the leader of the Bloc Québécois has to say about the Alberta-Ottawa MOU. And you're wondering why a lot of people in Alberta are like, why are we here then? Why do we stay in Alberta? Okay, what did you... I did a video on this, but this is a very funny story. Yeah, this is my video here. It doesn't have no views. It has some, but just an update. But I didn't see this video yet on it. But this is a picture like you're going to a Winnipeg spa, and you get handed a survey and it has this question on it.
After going to Thermea over the holidays, Amelia Latouche received a survey by email. It said the questionnaire was aimed at improving services in the spa. At first, questions were about Latino. It said the questionnaire was aimed at improving services in the spa. At first, questions were about Latouche's experience in Thermea. But later she was asked about her...
I'm not trying to be an ass. I can't understand this guy. Like, could you? I can't. Yeah, anyway, moving on. The word of this is the one I reacted to.
A spokesperson that represents the Nordic Spa behind me in Winnipeg is apologizing to anyone who might have been offended by a survey that went out in January that sparked outrage across social media. According to Group Nordic...
Have a great evening, shall not be infringed. Thank you for being here. Have a great evening. Like and subscribe, everyone, please, especially both, but especially subscribe.
The company that owns Thermea in the Crescentwood neighborhood says they engaged research from Crop to measure guest perceptions on services that they offer. They claim that a section containing questions was added by Crop, asking if the respondent agreed or didn't agree that there's too much immigration and if it threatens the purity of the country.
And if I had to do it again, I will do it. We have to know where this country is heading. 53% of Canadians agree with such a bad statement.
So this guy's company comes up with this question about, are immigrants something to the effect ruining it'll come up in a second here, but the purity. You're sitting down at a spa. Why are you getting a question on if immigrants are making Canada unpure?
The statement is awful. I admit it. But it's our job to know how many Canadians agree with that crap.
And according to Alain...
That's so crazy. Why? It's so funny. Overall, there's too much immigration. It threatens the purity of the country. Like, there's a place... The word purity is kind of strange to it. It's like a water filter or something, but Why is that a question at a spa? That's so funny.
Jaguar, the president of Crop, the company's research found that in 2022, 35% of Canadians agreed with the survey question, and now it's up to 53%. Jaguar understands that a spa is an odd place for this type of question, but believes it's necessary for companies who want to better understand their clientele.
I want to know what kind of people. Are we dealing with highly conservative people or completely progressive people?
That's so funny. Well, you could just ask that then. Are you liberal or conservative?
It changed the way we will talk to them to engage them to the brand. At the end of the day, we use that for branding.
The spokesperson with Group Nordic says they did not apply sufficient scrutiny themselves, citing it as their mistake, and those questions do not reflect.
Actually, we'll go that. This will be good. I've not watched this video yet. Has anyone in the chat watched this video? Ezra Levant pummels JT with questions at World Economic Forum. Has anyone seen this one yet? Because this is going to be good. I'm actually kind of excited to watch this on stream because I haven't watched it yet. Yes, not yet. Yeah, we'll take a look at it together. Yes, I have, of course. Very cool. It's awesome. Okay, cool. Let's take a look. And again, so now it's even more open-ended. I'm just kind of talking about whatever. So if anyone wants to hop up and talk.
Mr. Trudeau, what are you doing here at Davos?
No comment.
How come you never comment? This is the spirit of dialogue is the name of the conference. How come you won't dialogue, Prime Minister?
You're not getting into the spirit of dialogue here. Have a good day.
I bet you Trudeau misses that so much.
Who paid for you to come here? Was it taxpayers? What do you make of the Federal Court of Appeal upholding the ruling that your martial law was illegal? They said you violated.
It's good to see you, Ezra. It's been a long time. How you been? How you been keeping?
Pretty well, but you didn't speak to me.
I'm worried about you.
I don't think you have.
You stopped speaking to me after the boxing match. I never heard from you again.
That's not true. Every time we tried to come into contact with you, you had us arrested.
Oh my gosh. What a line. That is so funny.
I never had you arrested.
You beat up my colleague David Menzies. Your bodyguards did. Your personal bodyguards beat up David Menzies.
The RCMP, the official police of Canada that you're speaking against?
Yeah.
Well,
I think you're
not going to trust our institutions, Ezra. There's a problem there.
I think our institutions have been weakened by you, to be quite candid.
That is your right to believe that and to feel that. And that's certainly something.
I agree with that 100% with Ezra.
That you've continued to spread people not trusting our institutions. A certain skepticism is important, but spreading of misinformation and disinformation is just irresponsible. And I think you know that, Ezra. But you've got a good little gig coming on. You've paid for all these people to come to Davos. I encourage you to continue to ask questions and challenge people, but to try and do it in a way that is grounded in facts and reality.
You've introduced more censorship. Thank you very much. A conversation is not you lecturing me. A conversation is a back and forth, not you just lecturing people. You misunderstand.
Man, Trudeau, Jordan Peterson has made this comment. It's like everything he says sounds so fake. Everything he says, it sounds like he's coming at it from someone that's acting.
Something that you've continued to spread people not trusting our institutions. A certain skepticism is important, but spreading of misinformation and disinformation.
It sounds like he's just walking. It sounds like that's from a teleprompter. I've never heard him ever say anything that doesn't sound so corny and so. It sounds scripted, but he's just walking around.
Just lecturing people. You misunderstood.
Your time lecturing and haranguing people and creating outrage. There's no need to.
You introduce more censorship bills than any other kind of bill. You don't believe in free speech. C-63 and all your other bills are about squelching people who you disagree with.
As well, you continue to make your points, and you're more than welcome to.
So far, but not if you get your way.
Ezra, I think you know that.
I feel like you owe the Canadians an apology for.
Have a good day, sir.
Do you feel like you owe the world an apology for your behaviour during COVID?
Have a good day, sir.
Is it bizarre not being able
to me? Please don't knock into me. I appreciate you.
Well, your security was just pushing us around before.
Of course.
He still gives selfies. You got to hand him that. He won't talk to reporters, but he'll do a selfie.
I just spoke with you for 5 minutes.
You spoke at me for 5 minutes. You didn't answer any questions. You spoke at me, which is your style, isn't it? You don't do well with dissent. Are you going into any meeting?
Why not talk to him, Trudeau? Why not? Like, Ezra's right. You're not answering his questions.
Meetings here?
Davos is about meetings. Davos is about connecting with people and talking about how.
What does that mean? Davos is about meetings.
We can continue to put people's success at the center of everything we do.
Are you going to meet up with Mark Carney when he arrives?
I have always happy to speak with any leaders, including my friend.
And how do you think he's doing?
I think he's doing great.
Are you worried about the rift with the United States?
I think everyone is worried about
Hey, now Trudeau's actually answering questions at least.
an increasing polarization around the world.
Do you feel that his visit to China was successful?
I think there's a lot of work to do around the world, but it's good that we continue to engage with friends, allies, and potential challenges around the world.
How do you feel about the looming referendum for separatism in Alberta? Have you followed the separatist movement?
You think so? D2C? I think they just go hard in the paint and they just kind of they just show up at these events. Like with Menzies. Who was Menzies interviewing Trudeau when he got attacked? Or was that Freeland? That classic clip of him getting shoved down
in Alberta?
Very familiar with all the various challenges in Canada, and will continue to trust Canadians' thoughtfulness and unity.
Would you be part of a no campaign on that? Would you weigh in on that campaign? Rebel News comes to Davos.
That was funny. The best part, I think, was the beginning. But, oh, man, that was great. Okay, was there any fallout? There's probably a bunch of discussion around Carney's speech, right? Or what about the Trump in the White House? The picture he released of the European leaders looking at, I wonder if CBC's talked about that. I mean, there's all this stuff. I'm sure all the CBC panels are just people agreeing with one another. I kind of read some of that one. Is this a panel?
The Prime Minister delivered a speech today that in many ways serves as a eulogy for the rules-based world order, an order that Canada and its allies have relied on since the end of the Second World War. On stage at the World Economic Forum, Mark Carney had a warning that world leaders must adjust to this new reality or suffer. It was also a call to action to middle powers to diversify and seek new, reliable partners. And whether by coincidence or by design, this speech happened on.
For our historic sake and debt levels, I suggest we stay loyalists without being antagonistic and get Carney to resign ASAP. I think Carney, what are the current polls? I guess I'll play this.
The one-year anniversary of U.S. President Donald Trump's second inauguration.
Every day, we're reminded that we live in an era of great power rivalry, that the rules-based order is fading, that the strong can do what they can and the weak must suffer what they must. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination. The middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. The powerful have their power. But we have something too. the capacity to stop pretending, to name reality, to build our strength at home, and to
No, I honestly don't think Carney's like in any jeopardy of this to be removed. Like I know the right wing doesn't like him, but his approval ratings I think are still good enough to not really be in jeopardy of that.
to act together.
The Prime Minister gave that speech in the hours after the U.S. President shared this on social media. This is an altered picture from a meeting with European leaders last year at the Oval Office. And beside Trump, an edited map that has an American flag covering Greenland.
Yeah, this I wanted to cover. Yeah. No, I know. Like, I don't like Carney, but I don't think I know that's not what you're saying, but yeah, I think remember how bad Trudeau's approval rating was for like the 3 months before he resigned? Like he was really clinging to power for a long time. Even people in his own party were turning on him, and he still was just hanging around 3 months, 6 months, even 9 months. I don't know. What do you guys think about the next Canadian election? Do you think the next federal election will be quickly, or do you think it will just be at like in the scheduled time of 2029?
Greenland and Canada.
Yeah, this is a good troll, I would say. Did he post this after Carney's Davos speech or before?
And it's those kinds of threats
12:58 a.m. it says, so probably before.
that have prompted stories like this in the Globe and Mail. The headline, Military Models Canadian Response to Hypothetical American Invasion.
Bro.
One of those days. Good thing the power panel is here.
Every day is like that at CBC. CBC has been throwing a fit for the last year on Trump, at least.
Vandana Cotter, she was an advisor to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Lisa Raitt is a former Conservative.
Literally every day is like this. Like, so if you're watching CBC, I don't even know how you differentiate this from any other day.
Minister, we're just connecting with her right now. Nathan Cullen is a former NDP MP and a BC NDP minister, and Emily Nicola is a columnist for Le Devoir. Okay, Vandana, it was quite the speech by Prime Minister Carney today. Peter Beam,
Albertans don't care.
the senator, former GAC official, was on the show earlier, said maybe the most consequential since Louis Saint Laurent in 19.
Should world leaders be trolling? I mean, he is. So that's like Trump's been doing this for 10 years. So I don't know what you want me to say, but should they be trolling? I mean, it'd be better if Trump liked Canada more right now. I will say that. It'd be better if we had a better relationship, but is that your mom in the pic? You're talking about this person? EIC ID?
1947. I mean, what do you make of what we heard from Mark Carney today on the world stage?
He didn't mince words, and he.
I guess, yeah. What do you think it is? Like, what do you think Canada? Like, I appreciate your comments. It's all good, but what do you think Canada should do every time Trump does a troll? Like, go into a fit? Yeah, I don't know what Canada's supposed to do about that.
Was confirming exactly what many of us have been talking about, that the system has changed, the international system has changed, how we viewpoint things like NATO, our traditional allies, all that has changed, and not just for now, but perhaps generationally. And he talked about what countries need to do. There's a call to action to middle countries that we cannot take this moment to not name what's happening and to hide within ourselves, but to take action right now. So it was very honest and very blunt, a very realpolitik view, but nothing surprising to me, but except
Ignore
for the
it,
fact that
yeah.
this is
I that's better than going into like a fit.
definitely a new direction of what world leaders are talking about, and he was very blunt about it.
Nathan, when you're quoting Thucydides,
The Allies have betrayed the USA, getting a well-deserved spanking. I kind of agree. I talked about this with, I believe that was Tommy. Probably both. Probably the other person too. YAF, I think. Yeah, I definitely think the Allies for a long time have just relied on America for military and even economically. Just like, for example, Canada we'll pursue climate change, we'll virtue signal, we'll make all these, like even our public workforce, we'll make it way bigger. And there was just always this expectation that, well, we'll just sell to America. America has a strong consumer. We'll sell into them. It's all good. I don't think from an American perspective, that's really that fair, especially when America seems to be the only country. If you take Europe, Canada, America, even Japan, you could say America for a while is like the only economy that was growing in a significant way. So America's getting less benefit from trading with other countries with a relatively lower GDP per capita. So I think America, militarily and economically, was carrying the load for a long time. And I think it is high time that Canada, France, UK wakes up and starts to pull some of the load as well.
It is rarely the sign that it's going to be a happy speech, because the history of the Peloponnesian War is not really a feel-good story. But the Prime Minister is speaking in pretty stark terms about what happens when great powers are unchecked and unbalanced by counterweights, and it seems to be a call to action of the middle powers to come together and to be that counterweight to the great powers as best they can. What did you make of what we heard today?
Well, first I'm going to pretend like I read that great Greek philosopher. I
always make this point. What do you think the odds are? Oh, there's Lisa Raitt. She's not bad, but I don't know her enough to be really vouching for her that much. But I've seen her recently on this show being pretty good. But what do you think the odds are we get anybody that even tries to understand the other point of view here about like what Trump may be thinking? Or it's just going to be an agree fest. I agree.
It was multilateralism is dead. Long live multilateralism. That the institutions that we've relied on, the rules that underlie those institutions about fairness, etc., are being rapidly ignored. And so we can't count on them. And the way to counter that, especially as middle powers like Canada and Denmark and Australia, et cetera, down the line, is to spend a lot of time together and spread out our bets. Not all have our bets, especially as a Canadian economy, into the hands of the Americans. I think this point about whether this is a Trump moment or...
I think America said that to the world. Rely on our military, rely on selling to us. I don't disagree. You guys are waking up and realizing it only takes one troll to ruin that kind of setup. I don't quite understand your point, but yeah. Let's see here. If it comes to it, I never thought when I joined the U.S. Airborne, I might end up at war with my own family. Mountbatten, Windsor. Yeah. Are you saying you're in the U.S. Airborne? I never thought when I joined the U.S. Airborne. You have no chance, nor does Carney. Carney's not doing any favors for Canada. He only cares about his investments and serving his masters. Canada should stand up. You guys are doing well. So Watson's Life, are you from America? If that's fine. It's all good. Canada should stand up. You're doing well. Carney is standing up. I don't find humor in threatening to invade countries or trolling the world for kicks as a leader of a nation. Yeah. That's your point of view. I'm not even saying it's fine. You might even be right. Trump trolling the left, something else, is just part of the show. It's all theater. They are all actors. I mean, this is just Trump's style. He's been doing it for a long time. I think it's the way it is. Obviously, he's going way harder on Canada in this term than he did on the first term, like by a ton. Canada kind of got lucky the first time, I would say. It looks like, at least if you compare it to this. Yeah, we already talked about that, yeah. Only member of the royal family in the U.S. Airborne. Oh, well. Royal. Do you really want only member of the royal family? You're in the royal family? What are you trying to say? Do you really want China communism over American values? I mean, I've said this before. I don't mind Carney making a deal with China, but I mean, you'd have to hope Canada's competent enough to not let China like spy on us with those cars, or make any sort of deal where we're compromising our own security. I mean, you'd hope that we're competent enough to just like be able to sell them canola or things like that without getting crazy intertwined. I know lots of people obviously are very concerned, Doug Ford, but I don't trust anything Doug Ford says, to be honest.
This is something that is shifting generationally for Americans, that this is the new America for at least the long foreseeable future. That was most curious to me, because it assumes that even if Trump is...
Well, that's cool. I'll just believe you. Cool. So you're a royal family. Very cool. I don't really know anything about what that means or anything, but that's awesome. China is number one in a bad way.
loses the House, or if Trump is not the president next time around, which we're expecting, and a Democrat is, that this will still be the reality that Canada faces, a very aggressive. And I got to be honest, I'm finding that part of the theory a little hard to stomach. I think a lot of this is associated to Trump's particular chemistry and his ability to dominate the Congress and his own party, etc. And maybe I'm just hopeful that the American resilience and resistance to authoritarianism runs a little bit deeper than the speech suggested today.
I mean, look, yeah, I don't know. You're just making all these crazy statements. Even if like that was all true, it's the internet. You're gonna have to like, anyone can say anything. Decorates. And I haven't really been paying attention. Anyway.
I'd like to share your hope, Nathan, but I wonder, right? Like when you look at what's happening on the streets of Minnesota, you know,
I know.
To the geopolitical disruption. I mean, Lisa, the use of the word rupture by the Prime Minister suggests he sees this as a permanent state of like a demarcation, that everything is different from this point on. And even if it does, I guess, slingshot back to something approaching what we consider normal, you got to prepare for the worst in a moment like this is kind of the message. How do you think it's going to land with the European leaders? And
okay, let's go Lisa. Joelle likes Lisa, I think, right?
And the business elite at a place like Davos.
Well, those two groups, I think, are going to appreciate it, and they're going to like it. It's a really smart speech. I mean, I'm so glad you pronounced the philosopher's name, because
Well, he was a historian, by the way.
Have a clue.
He's a former general who served. He was an Athenian general, and he wrote about the history of the
Did she like this? I thought Carney's speech today was brutal.
Peloponnesian War. I did a lot of classics as an undergraduate, so that's how I know that stuff. So there you go, Lisa.
Which is paying off.
No, I appreciate that. I had no clue what he was talking about there, but the theme of the speech, I fully understand. And I understand why it's important for him to get out there and say that. I guess my big issue, though, David, is...
Why is it, though? Like, man. It sounded like, to me, Carney was trying to be like a hero. Wear the cape. I think you could have made just a boring speech. Throw in there if you want, because you're Carney, you're not going to change your ideology. You could have said, oh, we don't really like what Trump is doing, but blah, blah, blah. But then, like, the whole speech was that. We need to stand up. He made all these analogies, all these references, all these subtle jabs. For what?
Yes, it's meant for the elites. Yes, it's meant for the middle powers to rally them. But there's two more audiences. How is Mr. Trump going to deal with this?
How do you think?
What do the Canadian public think about the risk that we're taking when we take such a stance? And it's okay. I'm not afraid of the risk, but I just want to make sure that the Prime Minister equally explains in painstaking detail the risk that we're facing as a nation when a speech like that is taken. So I'd like to see a little bit more from him.
Yeah, well, Emily, it's one of these things you get.
It's craziness. By the way, I don't think I've seen anything from Poilievre calling that speech out, which I think he should be doing.
Give a speech, there's a risk. You don't give a speech, you're still going to suffer risk. I mean, Greenland didn't give a speech. Denmark didn't give a speech. And look where they are. I'm just wondering, Emily, what are your thoughts on what we heard from the Prime Minister today in laying this out?
I'm considering his speech in the European context. I think it's the World Economic Forum, but I think he was mostly assuming a European crowd when he wrote that speech, or a Western crowd when he wrote that speech. it seems to be a call for Canada to get closer to their European allies because he was so insistent on the vocabulary that is basically so dear to liberal democracies. One of the other thing that is in the background of this speech is basically appeasement and the way in which it bit the Prime Minister of the UK in the bottom in the last days, but also historically when it was Germany rising as a power during the 1930s. And I think it's that the failure of appeasement when you have when you have somebody who wants to essentially annex neighbors and invade neighbors and just grow and become more and more large within Europe or within the Western world. This is basically what we're facing right now. And I think what Mark Carney is saying is that we need to basically essentially unite around it. I'm still hungry for what Mark Carney's vision is behind this, because once again, this is a very Eurocentric.
Minister in the Q&A, I believe afterwards, did talk about his trade ideas, including Mercosur, the Pacific Rim, and other countries outside of Europe. But on the appeasement thing, I mean, Vandana, I keep thinking about, the UK shows up with the offer of a second state visit and accept a 10% tariff. Europe agrees to a bunch of things and accepts this kind of a tariff. The endless string of gifts going to the White House to get deals.
What do you all think? Do you think Trump in his Davos speech tomorrow will even mention or make reference to Canada specifically, or will it be just he'll just talk kind of like generically about other countries? Meaning like maybe he'll reference Europe or NATO or something like that. Do you think he'll actually talk about Canada at all in the speech?
That have now been completely nuked by the 10% February 1 tariff and the 25% June tariff if you don't give them Greenland, right? So like the Prime Minister basically kind of said, this is how you deal with it. Don't buckle.
Yeah, and I think he knows that Donald Trump is expecting everyone to blink and appease and like, let's give a little bit more, let's give a little bit more. And his call out is that this is how the international system has worked for a long time. And we have to be honest with how.
Geez, I just looked. Trump speaks early, 8:30 Eastern time. I don't know if I'll be streaming at that time. Probably not. 8:30, yeah.
It's the good things about it, but also the things that aren't great about it. The fact that there is appeasement, and we have to think through who our allies are, and then even some of our allies aren't upholding human rights. And we talked about our neighbor down south. So I think he's being real with that, but also this is not someone from the outside.
Thucydides is presented when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. Thank you very much, Larry. I'm going to start in French and then I'll switch back to English. Merci, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. It is both a pleasure.
Whoops.
Thank you very much, Larry. I'm going to start in French and then I'll switch back to English. Merci, Larry. C'est un plaisir.
Sorry, this feed is going to drive my eyes crazy.
To be with you tonight in this pivotal moment, geopolitics, the countries, especially very sustainable development of the very.
Every day, we're reminded that we live in an era of great power rivalry. That the rules-based.
The entire speech, it sounds like he's prodding at America.
Order is fading.
The rules-based order is fading.
The strong can do what they can, and the weak must suffer what they must. And this aphorism of Thucydides is presented as inevitable, as the natural logic of.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mountain Woman, but that's the thing with 3, 4, 5 political parties. I mean, you get 39% or whatever, 42, at least at one moment to vote for you. It's kind of weird.
International relations reasserting itself. And faced
You know
with
what's
this
crazy?
logic,
A lot of people on the left, maybe not a lot, but I've seen online, a lot of people online at least think Mark Carney is too conservative.
there is a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate.
I think Trump will demand terms of the globalist surrender. At least I hope. Trump might come out real hot. Sometimes though, Trump is very unpredictable. Sometimes you think he's going to come out hot, and then he's like Mr. Nice Guy, and then same the other way. Sometimes you think he's going to be nice, and he just goes scorched earth. So I don't know. I would predict he'll come out hot though. That'd be my guess. Trump will trash Carney in his vision like he's already doing. He won't say the word Canada, but we all know what he's talking about. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I think it's the downplay. He will go scorch earth, or he will total downplay, yeah. He trashed it last year. He doesn't want anyone to know his plans, sneak attack like Venezuela. That's a good point. Trump could go in any direction. I agree. It is late, gentlemen, but perhaps not too late. Adieu, Lady Windsor, George Cross. Okay, the royal family. The royal amongst us. And your butler will be assisting you. It's talking to a deaf crowd. Most Canadians, blah. They did that one. Voting machines are rigged. Selection, not election. I hope not. I'm hoping Trump goes batshit, but he is really hard to figure out. Yeah. No, I think he understood the blame Trump to get the votes. Trump should just remove Carney by force. Woo! I don't think he should do that, because that would be that's like a lot different than Maduro. That would be very bad, actually. And would be like a Trump, that'd be just awful. That would invoke so many things that I do not even want to think about. Oh, hello. I read that book you recommended last night. Very cool. Yeah, good night, E.I.D. Barrett. Yep. Hopefully you're back, Barrett. That'd be nice.
to avoid trouble, to hope that compliance will buy safety. Well, it won't. So what are our options? In 1978, the Czech dissident Václav Havel, later president, wrote an essay called The Power of the Powerless. And in it, he asked a simple question: how did the communist system sustain itself? And his answer began with a greengrocer. Every morning, this shopkeeper places a sign in his window: "Workers of the world unite." He doesn't believe it. No one does. But he places the sign anyway to avoid trouble, to signal compliance, to get along. And because every shopkeeper on every street does the same, the system persists. Not through violence alone, but through the participation of ordinary people in rituals they privately know to be false.
Okay, sounds like COVID. That's why everyone just went along with the mandates and all that crap. That sounds like COVID. It sounds like he's explaining. That sounds like the argument someone in the trucker convoy. I'm getting kind of tired. That sounds like the argument someone in the trucker convoy would have made. This only works because we all just went along with this mask mandate, social distance, don't go outside crap.
Called The Power of the Powerless. And in it, he asked a simple question: how did the communist system sustain itself? And his answer began with a greengrocer. Every morning, this shopkeeper places a sign in his window: "Workers of the world unite." He doesn't believe it. No one does.
Sounds like COVID. This actually sounds exactly like COVID.
But he places the sign anyway to avoid trouble, to signal compliance, to get along. And because every shopkeeper on every street does the same, the system persists. Not through violence alone, but through the participation of ordinary people in rituals they privately know to be false. Havel called this living within a lie. The system's power comes not from its truth, but from everyone's willingness to perform as if it were true. And its fragility comes from the same source.
Yeah, they hope to wait out Trump. Yeah, I think a lot of people are hoping that at least Trump, that the Democrats will win maybe the House or the Senate, or at least one of them in the midterms. But still, Trump's still going to be president. The thing is, there's a very good chance that in 28, J.D. Vance wins, and then his number one advisor is Trump. That definitely could happen. And then, yes, Trump's not in the White House anymore, but Trump's not going to I don't see Trump going away totally from politics once he's done. He'll still be the mega base is still probably going to be massive if it continues the way it has. And I expect that to happen.
When even one person stops performing, when the greengrocer removes his sign, the illusion begins to crack. Friends, it is time for companies and countries to take their signs down. For decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions, we praised its principles, we benefited from its predictability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful. And American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals. And we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality.
All right. I already did a stream actually on this speech, or maybe a video, whatever I did. Anyway, I'm gonna end the stream. I'm getting tired, but thank you everyone for joining. That was a lot of fun. That was definitely my most successful stream yet. Yeah, I'll be streaming probably tomorrow, and I'd like more callers. That would be amazing. And yeah, I'd like more people even in here that don't agree. That's fine. It's just certain comments maybe I don't like. I don't know. We'll see what my policy will be on that. But it's also good to have the option for people to come up and debate. If you're trolling like crazy, then just come up and let me know your thoughts. But anyway, I'm legitimately getting tired. So thank you everyone for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great night. See you in the next stream.